And we are actually live. I was looking at the wrong screen. Hello.
Are we?
Welcome. We are. We are up and running. My name's Kevin. This is 3020 Gaming. It's Thursday, and it has been over a month since we have gathered to do this. And here's the thing. We're still not doing it tonight. One of us is not here, as you can see, for the best of all possible reasons, and we'll leave it at that. But it's a good thing that so
it's
we'll
a very
leave it
good
there.
thing. But he won't be here this week. Or
Good
next
things,
week.
not bad
Or
things.
next, yeah. I have a plan for next week for this slot. I'm going to, you know the process of cleansing an area? This spot has gotten kind of dark and nasty, so I think I'm going to do something funny in this time slot next week. That just occurred to me a little while ago.
You're going to taint our atmosphere?
I might burn a little incense in this room.
Oh no! Get some
Kevin,
sage.
that's what Saturday or Friday's for.
We're
Saturdays.
It out after
and Saturdays and part of Sundays.
We're like a cast iron pan. You got to get it all built up.
Yes. That's exactly right. Seasoning. We are well
seasoning. We are well seasoned. That is for sure. Anyway, what we're going to do tonight, instead of playing our Deep Dark game, is talk about our Deep Dark game. So we've got chat open, and you can see I've actually got chat open in Twitch as well, so you guys can see what each other is typing. So just so everybody knows. Then. Yes, it's recorded, so we'll be able to see any questions that they actually managed to type. That way, when we watch the replay, we'll see all the ones that we didn't answer. But right at the moment, while we're waiting for anybody to show up, well, there's somebody. There's somebody. I won't say who because they're well, never mind. I just showed them. So, hey, Doc, how you doing? just kind of outed you there.
Kevin.
Sorry about that.
Incognito.
I hit the users in chat button and forgot that you guys were on there. Anyway.
Yeah, well.
I will start because I have a question. Did either of you
Why don't we introduce ourselves?
Didn't we? I didn't do that yet. Oh,
no.
so informal this week. In fact, let's do that. Let's introduce ourselves.
No We're checklistless, and we are lost and adrift without our checklists. And a bit dramatic.
A bit, yes. And I just managed to turn off Touch Portal and turn it back on.
Karis is in a mood. Sorry, guys. I should introduce myself then since I'm in a mood.
Well, go ahead then, yes. We'll start with you.
I'm Karis Sophia. I'm a nice, warm, fuzzy grandma. Pay no attention to the cobwebs in the corners. I just haven't dusted recently. You don't worry about we won't talk about it. Anyways, what do? I don't know. I do stuff. Right at the moment I'm almost back to normal. I'm doing gaming and more gaming and more gaming and more gaming. And then fitting in some Minecraft and then more gaming. Most of it is not on my own stream. Only the Minecraft is on my own stream. I'm doing Ironsworn on this stream. I'm starting Saturday Dungeon Master in the Daddy Warbucks community on the Saturday cast game. I'm doing Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. It's gonna be so much fun. And I don't remember what else I do. Anyways, it's all there in the chat.
A thematically consistent one for this time of the season, that is for sure. Icewind Dale. I need a break from this game. I'm going to go outside.
Oh, the isolation and the cold wind. And the cold, yeah. And the bleak and the, it's going to be great.
And then on the break, you go outside into the ice cold wind alone. And go, this is different. This is better. I feel good. Yeah.
Cleansing.
I should update my statement, though. I'll make myself a note to update my statement for you because I'm not doing Adventure League at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, next.
Oh, I want to interrupt. I ran an Adventure League game for some new players the other day, and I am very happy to report that I gave them one sentence that was not stock in the module, and they used it to break the entire the entire adventure.
Yes,
it was stunning.
Well done, sir.
Yeah. So, needless to say, I immediately headhunted all of them, and they are all now members of 3020 Gaming. You can find them on some of our upcoming shows and on our Discord channel. Over to Caradwin by Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin.
We're on the overlay.
Yes.
I'm usually just here on Dirty 20 Gaming for as far as public things. doing art and lore collecting and all of that rad stuff.
Oh, it's a bit more than that
Aha!
now. I mean, there
I
is
beat you to it,
wiki.
Kevin.
Oh, you beat me. I had to go back and
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
type.
there's a wiki.
Yes, there is a wiki. There is one of the most amazing wikis I have ever seen. We're 31 episodes, and you can catch up on it like it was written as a formal history at this wiki. It is amazing.
It makes it
I don't know how
Besides,
you
we
do it.
don't know what we're doing, so you can just jump
No,
in anytime. And if
Well,
you're
we-
lost, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
exactly.
We don't
Yeah,
have
we made
a
it.
plan,
We made it all
so
up.
we need to know what's going on too.
Well, it kind of brings up a really cool thing about it, is that we didn't have a plan. But if you go to that wiki and read the story and in order, it looks like we did. Like, this is what
Fooled
happens when you get
everyone.
all these incredibly creative storytellers together. It didn't just go off in a series of random directions, which could have been the other
Hey,
option. As everybody tried to pull in different directions. That's not what happened. We got like right away. We sort of
Yeah, that's
this
a
is
lot of work as two of us work on, as we have
Yeah.
we have our lore master who keeps trying to record it all, and I keep trying to thematically bend, okay, this thread, how do I bend it in towards the other stuff?
Yep.
So,
Yep, and that's
but it's all
been
collaborative. So,
it's been spectacular. Yeah, everybody brought their strengths to this, and it's exactly what I'd hoped. It put faith in me as a person that I believe can build teams. So I definitely picked the right people for this. Our dark bastard who could not be here tonight was that perfect sort of anchor. Where your Karis, your sort of darkness is this. It to me, it's very flitting. It's always like it's just behind this next tree. Like I can't quite ever see it. Austin's is like this
surprises you.
blanket.
Have a
And
cookie.
Austin's is just like this big, wet, heavy blanket that just lays on you, and they're so different, and I love them both, but together in the same world. I mean, look at the dark place we've ended up at this point. So, speaking of which, we could not have picked a better place to take a break if we'd planned it, and we didn't plan this break any more than we planned anything else. But we couldn't have picked a better place. Stepping
Yeah.
out of that tunnel into the hope,
Yeah.
right? This major
Yeah,
turning
'cause
point. So
we're in the woo woo pod now.
We're
Yes.
in a new setting completely that I don't think any of us have any kind of ideas for yet. Maybe we do now, but we
Oh,
didn't.
Austin's got ideas. Austin
I've got an
always has
idea.
ideas.
I've got an idea to make it difficult to get back, but yeah.
Why would
I
we want to
prefer
go back?
Well, we've still got to go get the other critters at some point.
Yeah,
Oh, fair point.
Yeah.
we got at least 4 others.
Well, it depends how many of them stay with Gear and whether Gear's back. So, and again, we
Gear's
don't
back.
know. So, well, Gear's back, but the critters and Gear are kind of
Somebody worked very hard to drag him back.
Yeah, how
Not
many games have you?
planned from the beginning.
many-
That came later.
How many games have you ever been in where 2 of the players were dead for several weeks and that didn't slow the plot down at all?
In
I
fact, it
don't
just
know.
made the plot faster.
Yeah, I don't know if
we can
anybody
hardly
would have.
keep up.
I don't know if anybody would have written this. I don't know. And I said I used that word not could have or should have, but would have. Would this story have been one that anybody wrote? And that's of course an unanswerable question, but it's a good thing to ponder.
It's definitely not the story that Sean Tompkin thought.
No, it's also not the story I
But
thought.
we use it as a system,
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about Ironsworn as a system, is it is flexible enough to do all of this.
Yeah, like I was telling.
But there's enough substance to it. Like I saw all of the big section on rituals,
Mhm.
and I grabbed hold of that, and it's like, okay, I'm a ritualist, and what does this do now, and all of this sort of stuff, and it's and created my character completely around it. So there was enough substance to really inspire me to get going, and yet enough flexibility that I can do anything with it that the author never imagined.
Mhm. Like I was telling my mom, like with the delve we did last time was, we were able to get through all of that with roles that were a part of the system, but we could get away with not doing other roles, and it
Oh, yeah.
didn't feel like we were cheating the system. Uh,
The system is a tool that's there to support us and to get a little bit of the randomness in so that we're not just scripting out a story. I mean, though improv, the nature of improv, we've got a fair enough bouncing off of each other and some randomness from that, that I think that especially helps us rely less on the tool, just because we're playing co-op mode as opposed to, what is it, directed mode or
Directed
Yeah, I think it's
play or the
directed.
pure GM
directed play.
mode. Yeah, yeah. But I think one of the offshoots of this system, the whole Oracle system, where there's no hard and fast answers. In the mechanics are soft and squishy. The answers to your questions are multivalent. They could mean a number of things, right? It just pushes you back into storytelling mode. And in the text as well, he actually says that the way the game is intended to play, and we've taken this to the extreme, is
Don't we have a
story
command for him?
roll story. Right, that's
we do.
the plan. That's the way it was designed to be done. I don't think anybody expected this story, but it's always story roll story, and the roll is this big in the middle, right? It's the that do I need a random number, and does the result matter? And if the answer is yes to both of those, then you roll, right? So,
Although I've twisted augury out of any meaning of that, whether it's game mechanics or even historical meaning of augury. If you look up augury, that's not what I do.
No,
And
not
mine's
in the
closer to
slightest,
scrying, but I don't do scrying or divination either.
no.
It's just based on will. That's all I know.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
will it to happen, and it does.
And both of
Or
us
it
shadow walk,
doesn't.
and neither
Or
one of us
it
do it.
doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, and both of us can
Well,
shadow
yeah,
walk,
both
but
of you
neither
have
one of us
shadow
does it by
walking
the
out
book.
the window.
Yeah, neither one of them's by the book. Yeah. But
Well,
again,
and we just recently created spirit walking, so
Yep. So
well,
we've added a
because
whole
we
new
created
realm.
a new realm. Yeah,
Yep.
we sort of said, okay, we need a different realm because we don't want this. We have this stuff, and it's sort of like we had Bill in shadow, and we wanted it so that he couldn't see Gear. So Gear had to be in spirit, not in shadow. And
Yep.
it's like who could see what and who. So in that dreadful scene in Mallwind when Amala caused a zombie apocalypse by accident.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, but so I mean, Gear, Amala, and Bill were all in the room, but we all saw completely different things at the same time and sorting out. Okay, well they could see this and couldn't see that, so they have to be that. And I don't know where the hell he who walks behind is, but he could be seen in these areas and not these other areas. So.
And we did all of that without it becoming this mechanically heavily laden, nobody had a chart made out or, anything like that. We kept it all narrative, but we kept all those little things, all those little threads separate, right?
Well, we had to sort of keep re-summarizing who could see what. And so if you're out here, here's what you can see the villagers doing. Here's who can see these spirits going by and these zombies going that way. Here's who can see these shadows taking over these people and turning them into zombies. Here's who can see this. Here's who can see that. And who knows what Tahiri can see. She's a witness. She can see everything.
Yeah.
Apparently, we have a lot of very powerful friends that can see a lot of the things we're doing because they come in very well timed.
Which I guess is a good segue into I, Kevin, did not think, expect, or plan for anywhere near this level of mysticism and magic in this campaign. I, in my head, envisioned this Bronze Age, like tiny little survival story set in one valley. Where the augury would be the chickens say we should eat today, like that's as much as magic was, and I am ecstatic that that's not where it stayed. That would have been really dull. So
well, and I think it helps that wasn't the plan. Like, I feel like if it was the plan, then there would have been more anticipated by at least us, and then it might have gotten out of control. You
wouldn't have invited me because I can't do that.
No, yeah.
I mean, the game I played in the longest, sort of my formative years in role playing, the dungeon master, I think he kind of liked offloading some of the work to me. Because in
Sure.
some ways I was a really needy player, but it's like, okay, so every Monday I'd write this big, huge, long letter on what was going on in the head of my character and would mail it to him. And next Friday night he was supposed to figure out. I gave him a few days to figure out what to do with that, and he let me create essentially a completely different form of magic. I mean, Rollmaster has got several different forms of magic, and I created a geomancy thing that wasn't any of them, and it's because I wanted to do this. And it's like, okay, well, we don't have rules. Well, okay, well, so here's my guidelines for here's how it works. Here's its constraints. Here's, and then let him decide what the effects were on it. It's like my character attempts to do this, and here's what she's thinking and imagining, and here's what she's focusing on. And well, you've seen all of that behavior in Amala. So
absolutely.
Well, in me playing Amala, I do this, and then you guys all tell me what the effects are.
I think we actually have our very first actual question. From Raising in a therapist voice. How are you doing, Bill? What's going on with you? Which is a fair question at this point.
Last we left him, he was catatonic. So
shortly
having
after,
just come through. Yeah, go ahead.
And there were before that, there were delusions of grandeur where he thought he could face off against a god one-on-one.
Oh no!
There was some self-doubt.
Like 7 gods.
Yeah, you
one at a time, though. 1 at a time. You're right. I called them all out. He has since scaled that back to a much more reasonable one demigod. Who he is still, he has put his mark on Tincture, and Tincture's going to die. I have no idea how weak, feeble little Bill is going to put the final hole in Tincture, but he's going to do it.
Tincture's surprisingly fragile.
Actually, I think I do know how he's going to do it, but I won't say anything. But that's
nothing set in stone.
Right now, exactly. My mind will change 4 times before 2 weeks from now. That's the best part about this stuff. But other than that, I think he's actually. I was going to say I think he's okay, but he is. But he's also a thief who has made a vow not to thief anymore. And a shadow walker who has made a vow not to walk in shadows anymore. So he is absolutely set up for failure because there's no way he is going to be able to succeed at what he needs to do without stealing shit and walking in shadows. That's all he does. So he is set up to fail 2 more vows, which will take him to a total of 4 that he's broken since this game started. So.
Well, and I think part of that could just be all in his head as far as like the stealing one goes. If I remember correctly, that's the one he made to Caradwin, or with Caradwin. And it's like, if it's like part of their mission to save the world, like sometimes you have to do the things you don't like to save it.
But he made vows, right? So it's it's not just I'm not going to do this and then I'm tempted, so I will. He has. Yeah. I'm using a game mechanic against my character essentially.
And Bill's trying to be very straight. For what he's really trying to do, it seems, is not be squirrely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to not be slippery or squirrely. He's trying to be very straightforward, which is what those other vows are trying to get around without actually facing directly.
Yeah,
is my sense.
And he doesn't get that there's gray areas. He either shadow walks or he doesn't. Like that's what he's. I mean, honestly, that's probably what he's got to figure out. Is that there's a sliding scale of what's appropriate and it's situational. I think that's probably where he's going to end up, but we'll see. I have those thoughts when I'm sitting here as Kevin, but when I'm in Bill, those thoughts are completely different because they're Bill's thoughts. They're not mine. So.
Oh, absolutely.
That's one of the things I really like about our group and how we play this is, our characters figure things out and process through things and, reach conclusions and then get new input and change their conclusions. Like, oh, okay, well, that was a mistake, and change. And it's they're people. They're really people. And I really like that about how we play this and how we bounce it off each other. And even when we trust each other with our characters, can I take over this scene from you? Yeah, sure, go for it. Yeah. It's like, yes, that's exactly perfect.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the world we're in is adjacent to other kind of fantasy ideas, but it's not as like black and white as this we know for sure this is evil and we know for sure this is bad. Like, we're kind of, especially since we're kind of starting this like change of power type situation, we don't know everything. And so we're just kind of like getting new information, and not everyone's telling us everything. So we're just like changing course.
And those who should be telling us things are saying, no, what we know is irrelevant. Go for it. Figure
Make
it
your
out
own way.
yourselves. Yeah, make your own way. It's like, we're not going to tell you this. It's like, but.
Well, not to mention everybody that we're asking has a vested interest, either in things staying as they are or changing. So we're not getting, there's no way we'd be getting honest information from anybody anyway. So it makes sense that it's all confusing and everybody's telling us something different. So yeah.
Or they don't, or they don't answer direct questions.
Well, and some people have a vested interest in both and haven't quite sorted it out yet. And I think Weena comes to mind for that, though I'm not, she might have sorted this out further than I'm portraying right now. Is, she's a traditionalist. She's, this is the way it works, but she's recognized this and it's like, she kind of has a vested interest both ways, whether it's her own success or whether it's her apprentice's success, and the world's success and which one's, better overall. So even our NPCs are struggling with this sort of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
And again, a lot of them, I think, are in a position where they don't know what's coming, but they're trying to put themselves in a place where they will be in a similar position of power to where they are now. Like, no matter what happens, I want to be able to just step into this new world and occupy a very similar level of control over it. And so,
I'll mention to the audience, as we talk about various characters and NPCs, because I know a lot of people have not seen the whole way through, if we mention a name or a situation and you don't recognize it or you're feeling a little lost, just speak up. We will happily go and describe it and talk about it for hours. So don't be shy. Speak up, and we'll go, oh yeah, let's tell you about that. And while
let's tell you how this character came up.
And
this could easily be a 12-hour session.
And if you want to see for more details, go watch episode 24 or whatever.
The wiki is that good.
Oh, it is. I was trying to find a scene. I don't remember which one I was trying to find. And it's like, and I asked Robin and she gave me enough context and said, and I think it might be in this episode here. And I went and looked at the wiki. And it's like, yeah, that was probably the story that this occurrence happened in. And I went and it's like, yes, I found it. Exactly. Here's the 30 seconds I wanted out of all of these hours of content we produced over the last year.
Well,
so
31 episodes. When you take the breaks out, they're about 2.5 hours of actual game time each. So 80 hours, almost 75 or 80 hours.
Damn.
Yeah. Of content.
Yeah.
Of really intense content.
Yeah, and we don't hang about. There's very little empty space in there. There's entire sessions where we didn't move 30 feet. But there were no sessions where nothing happened.
There were no sessions that we weren't all exhausted. And it's like after, we sign off and shut off the stream, we're all going, oh, I can't believe we did it again.
Yep. And yes, the wiki is there. It is amazing. If you prefer video, it's all on YouTube as well at 3020 Gaming.
I'll pick up
and you can watch it at speed there.
Yeah, speed it up.
Excuse me.
Typed it,
I don't know what the intensity it's in. Can we bear that intensity at that speed?
I don't know.
I would be a little careful. Here's the playlist.
Thank you. Even better. Yeah, there's all kinds of other stuff over there. All kinds of other games over there at 3020. But yes, thank you for the playlist.
But that's specifically the playlist.
There's some lightness in there to make it so you don't fall into a complete depression.
Yeah,
about every 12 episodes or so. Yeah.
Go watch a fun shot.
It gets silly. We get silly.
Yeah, then we eventually
Although their silliest moment was in the very first episode.
Yeah, well, Kira was pretty good. Kira's
pretty good. The throwing meat at the traders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we were bored, and it's like, okay, we got the traders. We're not sure what to do about them over there. Do we approach them? Do we talk to them? Do we avoid them? These are people that Carradwin really doesn't want to interact with much because of reasons, backstory reasons. And so, yeah, they ended up with Carradine throwing meat up, or no, it was Gear throwing meat. So
Gear threw it. I shot it.
Yeah, so they could shoot. They ended up throwing the meat at the traitors, and Carradine having to go into the traitors' camp to retrieve. I don't remember what you're retrieving. It's like, excuse me, sorry. And then back out.
We got a question.
Yes, we do.
Sound off. Fave NPCs, please, with brief description and/or favorite moment.
Well, Robin, you go first because you just mentioned one that you liked.
Oh well, there's so many I like for different reasons, and I think that's one of the fun things about like all of us playing NPCs. So there's not really NPCs, but
they're all people. They're very much people.
They're all people.
Even the ones that we keep handing off between us.
Yeah, that's not a consistent one.
Yeah,
or that Robin, we kill before he can say a full sentence. Rest in peace, Taryn.
We're Taryn. Because I think Robin, you're the only person who hasn't played Callista yet.
Yeah, I think so.
And yet we've got an internal consistency to her.
We have an internal consistency, and I think a lot of the reason why I haven't is just because it hasn't arisen, and also she tends to be towards Carradine, and so.
I think it's easy to stay. It's easy to stay consistent, and for me at least, because they're so archetypical. Like these,
yes,
we haven't. There's no need to rewrite the book when it comes to baddies. Baddies that live in shadow. That's all you need is bad and shadow. That's all you need, and they just build themselves. You know who these creatures are.
Yeah.
But I've been
like I never described He Who Walks Behind. I called him He Who Walks Behind, which is a Dresden Files reference, and everybody knows the dynamics around him just from that name alone.
Absolutely.
Other than he's a shadow void. I mean, that's a bit of a description. But favorite.
I had a weird pop memory. Yeah, the first memory that popped into my head was the giant that Bill had the conversation with about I won't steal anymore, and in return he got his brass knuckle. I think that's probably one of those didn't expect it moments, or I expected it to be very serious, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, wait a minute, he's got to give me this chain link, right?
That whole encounter with the giants was fun.
That was great. I didn't know what to expect out of that one, but
I didn't either, except that we needed giants in, and so I invited giants in.
And the thing I liked about it was we made them very alien, very different, right? They were not just tall people. They were very different culturally, and they thought differently. Even though they were only there for a couple of hours in one game, they stood out.
Well, and part of that is I've got some favorite authors who are really good at aliens.
Yep.
At alien thought processes and all, and where I use a cutscene to bring in like either the Veru or the. When I use a cutscene to kind of introduce these to get a little of the flavor across before I launch them off onto the pool of our group.
Yeah. I think maybe this is just because we interacted with him recently, but Manja's a really great one. I think Austin pulled that off really well. Well,
not only did we kill him off,
Austin killed him. But
Austin killed him and Amala let him go. She does not understand why she did. She doesn't know why she did that. She's clear that she did, but she's not clear about why. Hardway Jones.
I really enjoy Manja in that regard, just because he's like the middle ground. Okay, like I think also just the untold story of Manja and Weena is very hilarious to me. That we've been slowly adding in, but also just the way he communicates and the way Austin was able to add in this different form of ritual that that we don't really explain, nor do we talk about, just like with the lightning and all that kind of stuff. It's like we don't need to explain it, and it's really kind of fluid. I think that's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'm sitting here struggling with the plural too.
And thank you, for joining our chat here and reminding me that we do have this. There's this weird sort of two layers to this channel because there is Dirty 20 Gaming, and then there's this Ironsworn channel, which is separate, and that's because this is a long form game, so it has its own chat and everything else. So, but
and
thank you.
It is a very, very different character from the other things that you host.
It is, yeah. The stuff that you're going to be on Friday is not yeah. That's going to be fun and silly and ridiculous. I have plans.
Our Ironsworn campaign is a walk on the dark side, very much so.
It's to summarize it, last week ended up in a Lovecraftian underground delve. So thematically, the last time we actually ran a game, it's going to be a couple weeks before we run again, but that's okay. As was pointed out just before the show, our next scheduled game is going to be 2 days before our day before
it's
our
January 22nd, and our anniversary is January 23rd because we started January 23rd a year ago.
Wow.
It was our first. I don't remember what day we did session 0, but session 1 was the first one we streamed, and it was January 23rd last year.
So it's been a year.
Oh my goodness, it's and yeah, that's funny because it is so different than it was that first session. But on the other hand, Gear getting shot in the ass is still so archetypal of us.
It is still
so
absolutely
in many ways,
Gear is.
It is still us,
and
that that innocent, ditzy, not quite present shaman apprentice is now even more ditzy, not quite connected. She's just not an apprentice anymore.
Well,
there's still these key elements.
In game, it's been a month.
Like
in game.
I know. I lost track of my time. No, I lost track of my timeline, but I still have. Well, and we've had a disjoint section when we went off in the spirit that we have no idea how long it.
Who knows how long?
We're down to subjective time now. And even that's not the same for all of us because we've been split up. I mean, a couple of you were in spirit for a while. Who knows how long that took?
A couple of us were in an Eldritch Horror land. Who knows how long we were lost?
How long that took off of our lives.
So we started that delve. We started the Eldritch Horror delve on day 28.
Wow.
In game day 28.
That tracks. Yeah.
And so we've had 31 sessions, and we have covered 28 in-game days.
All in 1 year. So one lunar month represented in one. Man, you couldn't have planned this. I mean, holy shit. What was the most unexpected thing your character did? I love this question. Because there's an underlying assumption that your characters do
we have no control.
My character doesn't do
and it comes out of your mouth and you go, what? Yeah. And I love that.
Never does anything unexpected to me.
No, really? Because she blows me out of the water about 12 times an episode.
I know.
So yeah, I get chance to sit on this one first. I answered first last time. So most unexpected thing your character did.
Unexpected thing.
I kind of think. The most unexpected thing that my character did to you guys was when she went to talk to the Varu.
Yeah.
It's like that. The whole I know it was one of my NPCs who went. She did what? And it's like, I know that caught you guys off guard. We had these, there were these Varu that which are a wolf-like people that were seemingly threatening this circle that we were currently staying at. And as far as we knew, they looked hostile. As far as we knew, they were hostile. But Amala recognizes one of them from one of the visions she had, and is, I know her, and she just goes barging up to talk to her. And it's like, oh, wait, what the hell are you doing?
Yep, we're gonna need a new shaman
now. Wanted to know what the hell she was doing too. So that kind of caught everybody off guard. Oh,
yeah, yeah, but it was a good moment, and Gear.
And
Gear
she comes back and
that,
sits
right?
next to Gear, and it's like, what? I'm waiting. She said she's gonna come back. I'm just waiting. You know what?
Yeah, well, Mr. Nature Boy is going, they're dangerous. They're going to kill us. They're going to eat us all. Yeah.
Well, that was
Mr.
when the
Nature Boy.
NPCs asked if she was dead, and Gear
Not
replies,
yet.
"Not yet. I hope you change
Yeah,
that."
One of my
Yeah.
favorite lines that we
I
have.
hope to
That
change
was why
that,
we
yeah.
put it in the ad.
Yeah.
'Cause that's marvelous. Oh, what has Caradwin done?
Not much, no.
No, she
No,
did
that
what?
is
That's
just
like
flat
that's
out untrue.
surprising.
That's blew your
Um,
mind. Yeah.
I think one of the things that surprised me the most with Caradwin is really her jumping off that cliff in Onikiri. I think that was something that maybe even if I had been asked ahead of time, like wouldn't be something I would think she would have done. Um,
Yeah, taking the
because
leap of faith.
it was a leap of
Literally.
faith, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not
having
especially
the faith. Yeah,
having the faith, and like she knows the rituals work, but she doesn't do them herself, and so
well,
it's
and
kind of just
trusting Tahiri to that level, whom you'd known for what 2 days, and Manja, who was telling you to do it that you didn't really know at all because
and he
you
wasn't
were
really
there
telling
when
me if this was gonna kill me, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and yeah, that was
Excuse me.
a lot of it could have gone wrong. As she was like, I'm sure that was something she was thinking of as she was falling. Um, but yeah, that would have been probably the most surprising part.
Actually, Amala did do something that surprised me. She let Manja go. Now that you mentioned the scenario with Manja, she let Manja go. You know, Manja was a shaman NPC character who died, and she started that with a "we'll see about that," and went in to block him, and she had a circle to block him that he could not pass without her permission. And she didn't even ask that. All she asked him was, which way do you want to go?
Well,
It wasn't a choice of do you want to go or not, which is the choice I thought she was going to give, and I thought she was going to try and persuade him, but that wasn't what she actually said. She actually said, "Do you want to go on, or do you want to go to Onikiri?"
and I think Weena was also kind of, I think if I remember correctly, she made the statement of like, your friends need you more. I think I could be wrong about the
I
timeline
don't
of
think
that,
Amala
but
heard. Yeah, I don't think Amala.
yeah, it's possible that was. It's been a
Amala, in fact,
while.
Amala would have missed that.
Yeah,
I heard it, but Amala would have totally missed that.
hmm
I've been playing a lot of oblivious characters lately.
I am realizing that moment with the giant was apparently more
Hi,
important
Colors.
to Bill than I thought, because when you said what was the most unexpected thing your character did, I immediately went to promise not to steal anymore. His backstory, this was a mission for me. I am the master of 9-page backstories. That's what I do. But on this one, I wanted to limit myself to one sentence, and it was Bill is a thief. And that is the entire backstory that I came in with. So for him to say, I'm not going to steal anymore.
Oh, right. He made that promise to the giant.
To the giant, because he got busted. He stole that
That's
thing
right.
for himself. He got busted stealing, promised not to steal, and then the giant gave it to him as a prize. Yeah.
Because of the encounter with Caradwin. But he actually made, you're right. He did
that's
actually
right.
make
I was trying to think.
Between getting caught by Amala with the trinkets that she made for somebody else,
but she
between being
didn't
caught by
mention
the
it.
giant, and then being forgiven by both of them,
Yeah, by
that was
Caradwin
the
and
key
Amala.
thing. It's like, I can't do this anymore. I do this to people, and I just say, stole from Caradwin while she was dying in a blanket in the corner. So I can't do this
That was
anymore.
a brilliant scene.
I can't be this guy anymore. So yeah, that moment was I'd almost forgotten it until it was mentioned tonight. So thank you, Raising. That was both questions took me right back to that same spot. And yes, anybody else has any questions? I see some people just hopped on. Hello. Happier than a normal Ironsworn because we're talking about it. We're not playing it tonight.
We do enjoy it. This
it is magnificent.
Enjoy
it is, yeah.
I mean, we go through the tears and the agony and everything, but we love it so much. We
I
put
have
so much
cried
into it.
literal tears on this stream,
Yeah.
and Kevin, some of my closest friends have never seen me cry. So,
Yeah. I grew up in a
Oh, it's
logging town.
Colors
I've done
Echo
things on this
must be
channel
Luna
that would have
then.
gotten my ass kicked if they'd seen me doing this.
Oh yeah, I think one of my favorite recent scenes was that one between Weena and Manja where Amala, witnessed, her mentor talking about her misspent youth sort of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
it's like
This is,
hearing what your
rigid
parents
and
did when they were
ritualistic.
20,
Yeah.
or when they
Yeah.
were 16.
Oh,
It's
very
like,
much like that. It's like, you did what? It's like, ew,
Yeah.
you did what?
Excuse you.
It's like all
Yeah.
of those emotions.
It's like that weekend your uncle came over and you had a couple too many beers with your parents and they talked about all the shit they did when they were teenagers and you're just in the next room going, yeah, sure, keep
yeah,
talking,
right.
That's how I found
Yeah.
out that
I mean, I guess I know we don't really plan ahead, but what we've had, basically by the time we get started again, we've had almost 2 months since we've really put thought into this.
Yep.
And really digested stuff. So as we get started up again, where do we think we might be going? I mean, we always change everything with the improv, but where do we think we might be going next?
Well, I know where Caradwin will want us to go. Because she doesn't think we should be here, especially not with how unprepared we are.
Oh, yeah.
We should not be in the Shattered Wastes.
Shattered Wastes with no gear, no food.
No gear, nothing. We're in a literal eldritch horror land.
Well, that's exactly where you're supposed to be in a Lovecraftian horror. We cut the racism off, and we took the rest of the Lovecraftian horror and put it here, and that's what it's supposed to be. There is no way to face the eldritch horror and win. That's the whole point to that form of horror, right?
Like in my mind, the Shattered Wastes are like this. It's the bedtime story you're told that like bad kids get sent there and they never come back. Like she met the Iron Revenant that attacked her on the outskirts of the Shattered Wastes that were still technically the mountains. Like you don't go in there.
So that's
and
like
all the rest of us are like, oh yeah, let's go there because that's clearly where we need to go.
And she thinks we're all crazy, and then we all of a sudden end up there anyway. And it's just like
you almost got killed by one of the little tiny fish that swims around the very edge of a big dark lake, right? I mean, the Iron Revenant, right?
and then Caradwin finds out there's just a billion hearts underneath it. And she's just like, well, fuck.
And now we're out in the middle of it and have to get back somehow. So
yeah, so that is definitely where her mind will be once she has her mind at some point back up to some level. Because right now, I think she and Bill are both at like almost 0.
Yeah, I think we're at. I know Bill has been running at 0 spirit for a while. He's been picked up and blah, 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 come with me, Bill, for most of the last 2 episodes.
Now that we have the other 2 back, it's time to kill off those 2, right?
Yes,
balance is important.
And I get to spend 12 hours without a body. Oh, Bill, no, don't do that. Don't give Bill the ability to move around without a body. That would be bad.
Caradwin was at 1 spirit by the end of that, and I want to say like 1 or 2 health.
Health, dude.
And like if we had been rolling, I'm pretty sure neither of us would have made it out of that thing. With any semblance of living.
But if we were also rolling, Austin and I would have pulled back a little bit. I mean, Austin and I laid that on really heavy because it was so much fun.
Yeah, though the harm rolls tend to not pull any punches.
Yeah.
On the other side,
we laid it on.
The story's better. Yeah, the story's better if nobody dies, right? I mean, not yet. Anyway, maybe somebody has to do the heroic death at the end. We'll figure that out then. But
and both Gear and Amala have kind of gone through that now too.
You've gone through the process. Yeah, you guys are much more in my head, at least. Those 2 are still much more in the mystical side of this. Like they're taking that step into the spirit realm, whereas Caradwin is very firmly still rooted in the physical.
I don't know where Caradwin would go.
And Bill is stuck. Yeah, and Bill is stuck because he can't go anywhere now, right? He's promised not to go anywhere. So
and it was really good. I mean, the fact that Amala is tethered to Caradwin is excellent because that means Amala is actually anchored.
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is a really good thing because you turn a Karis loose and we go off into woo land, and it's
Well, that's the thing. If Carradine would die, I'd be like, I don't know where she would end up because, like, she's not.
You just hang around for a
connected to
a couple of weeks and come back inside the bear with the fish in your mouth.
come back inside Brom.
Yeah. You wondered why you were so competent?
I will
You wondered
also
why that
say,
horse was so good? Now you know.
Brom is the true hero of the whole adventure, and we will soon find that out.
It will be called
in
Brom's
story.
Tale in the
Yeah.
the songs the bards sing will be
T-A-I-L,
called
yes.
Brom's Tale. T-A-I-L, yeah.
The horse that saved the lands.
Mhm. I will say
And the four
also
meatheads
is-
who almost stopped him. Yeah.
I have in mind a couple of characters in literature that I really like that kind of go off into Wuland and don't actually come back. They always, for the rest of time, they're always that kind of strange character.
Yep.
So it would be really easy for me to do that with Amala, and if it becomes unplayable, just start dropping hints, or actually I probably don't need to worry about it because Austin will start reining me in. If I start going off to something unplayable, Austin will drop in things that sort of shove me back in. So yeah, never mind. I don't need to worry about that. I talked myself around.
There's quite a few there.
Oh my goodness, Austin has my number. Oh my.
The two of you are there's it's a joy to watch the two of you work because it's just like, oh, you want to go dark, okay, and it's this wonderful, and I use that word like this is wonderful to watch. I am full of wonder at this, a downward spiral into the darkness.
Yeah,
It's
and when I
very
do something,
rare.
I'll go, "Oh my goodness!" And Austin will say, "Well, you said you wanted this, and
Yep.
you said you wanted Tate. You said you wanted dark. You say it's like, yes, and you took, and I meant it. I truly meant it. But oh my word!"
It's yeah. I realize that with what people have seen on stream, they might find this slightly challenging to believe, but I'm not used to being the most positive player on the team.
Yeah, between this and Mercs.
Yeah, and like I said, and watching the fun shots and all that other stuff, you'd never know. But I am my characters are usually every bit as dark as what Austin plays. So I've been experimenting with the fun lately. I used to play nothing but bards. And then I got away from that because it was too easy, which is such an out. It's like come up with a more creative way to do it then.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
which this seems like the perfect place. Which I challenged myself to that, and I said, okay, you want to find a bard that's difficult to play? I am hereby volunteering if anybody wants to run a game, a one shot. It will only be a one shot. I will play a bard who is cursed to speak only in rhyming couplets.
Okay, Shakespeare.
That's my challenge to myself. Anybody find me a game? That'll be an interesting 3 hours. But anyway,
That can be the first one of your Tuesday night ones.
yes.
Luna's inspired.
Good.
They're gonna take you up on
Good.
it.
I know a number of people that if they heard me say that I would hear pens scratching in the distance, and that's what I'm counting on. So
Mhm. So I have a question too for some of the viewers who've watched that I know it. Oh, actually, you're already signed up.
Okay.
Some of the viewers, what have you enjoyed about Ironsworn? Because I mean, yes, we do this for our own entertainment, but we do this on stream for you guys too. What dynamics do you enjoy? What types of storylines or characters do you enjoy? The fact that each of us ends up with like 4 or 5 characters, sometimes all in the same scene. We try to avoid that somewhat. It's like we're going in, it's like, okay, who's not in this scene? Okay, you play that in piece. That's how Callista gets handed around so much.
Yeah.
It's because it depends on who she's interacting with.
She's that sort of common enemy. That's another thing that's interesting with this game is each of us has sort of got a nemesis already, at least one. Some of us several.
Mhm.
Some of us we're not sure whether they're. I'm thinking of Amala, Weena. Is that a nemesis or an ally? It's still kind of up in the air.
Yes.
But we've all got these. For lack of a better phrase.
It's clear that Weena has made the commitment to be an ally. Wasn't
Yes.
clear early on. It's clear she has.
Yes.
It's not clear that Amala has made that transition though.
She's definitely, as far as
Probably has, but she
I'm,
hasn't realized
as
it.
far as I'm aware, as the one who has, I think Kevin played her once before or something like that, but
Yeah. You're her primary player.
I'm the primary pilot of this ship, and I think she is one of those people that's very stuck in her ways, but is also kind of like, from watching how much she can of what Amal is doing, and kind of like, the grapevine of these higher beings of some kind, realizing that while the processes that Amal is going through isn't what she would suggest, and as Mon just pointed out, are dangerous, she can't say they don't bring results.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like,
it seems like she's also recovering a little bit of her past back when she was younger and more adventurous, and she'd gotten into a rut and is starting to realize that, which means she can has an opportunity to navigate out of that rut. And
maybe a little bit of
happens when we
Schadenfreude.
turn Weena loose.
I saw that, and that prompted an interesting question. Is there an element that's just the single phrase, the single word there? Is there an element, because there certainly is for me, as soon as I saw the word, I felt a slight bit of shame, of Schadenfreude, in other words, enjoying the pain of your character? Do you get joy from watching your character suffer? I sure as hell do. I love watching Bill. I love watching him like he's been pinned like a bug on the end of a nail, and he's just trying to get out.
Yes and no. Yeah, Rob. I think Robin and I are on the same page.
I've been writing novels since like 6th grade. So I've been kind of able to get into the head of characters for a long time, and so I get enjoyment out of telling their story. And so in a way I enjoy it. I don't enjoy it as like me. I enjoy this pain specifically because, like, I don't know, I'm not that, like, the if I think about it too hard, the idea of losing a brother is just a little bit too close to home. But like,
is he in chat? He was early on. He was one of our earliest regulars.
No, I don't think he's in chat today. But
we still got to rescue him, by the way.
We still have to rescue him. We still have to find out what's exactly happening.
See, if he were in chat more often, it'd be a little higher priority for us to go rescue.
We'd have rescued his dumb ass by now.
Well, and so I get the satisfaction out of, like, yes, we're torturing Caradwin through these things, but also we're telling her story with whatever manner that seems to be at this point. And so I do enjoy it. It's just not from like a personal standpoint, more from like an art writer standpoint.
And for me, there's a couple of things. Not so much in this game as the other dark game I'm in, where I conspire with my dungeon master to torture my character. But in both cases, it's not because I enjoy torturing the character. It's because I know I look a lot younger than I actually am. I have earned the gray hairs I don't have. Thank my grandmother for that. She was well into her 70s before she got her first gray hair. And yeah, she's mostly gray now in her 90s, but you know. So yeah, I don't look the mid 50s that I am. But I've had enough time that the challenging parts of my time both showed that I was strong enough to come through them, and have added dimensions to make me a more real person than I was when I was 20. And so I don't enjoy torturing my characters, but I also know that in these games, I'm never going to push them beyond what they can bear. I know that they're stronger than they think they are, and I love watching them come out the other side. The satisfaction of watching them get out the other side and then learning what they've just gone through, and they become a little more real and a little more dimension of their own, and they mature a little bit. And I love watching that. It's like, I'm not going to protect my characters. So yeah, I put them in all these horrible situations because I'm not protecting my characters. But
Yeah.
yeah, and like Aqua says, and personal growth for the characters. And it is also cathartic for myself. I mean, I missed out adolescence because of depression. And so in my mid to late 20s, I put a character through adolescence and I managed to develop my way through adolescence, in doing that. And so it's also quite cathartic for me as well. So in all of those ways, I enjoy all of those attributes. And it sure looks like I enjoy treasuring my characters, but it's not their pain I'm enjoying. It's where that pain leads.
Right.
Well, and I also
That's
think
a long, sober answer.
That's
well, I
perfectly
also
reasonable.
think it's really interesting to have these characters that are the quote unquote heroes of this new balanced era. And we will always only have 5 health. We will always only have 5 spirit.
Yes.
And we
won't
look
have
raggedy as
150 hit
shit.
points.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
we never
I
look
like
like we
that.
have our stuff together. I like that because, like, you see a lot of, like, especially, heroes of the world coming out, they get leveled up and they are, like, gods. And I don't know, I don't think we'll ever be like
We
that.
do have more assets.
We have assets, we have more friends, we have more resources at our
Yes.
disposal.
Yeah.
But we're less of
also-
like the Marvel superheroes, and we're more like just collecting an army.
We're
Although
always one
one
small fight away from dead.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
little
one
fight,
thing
little fight.
some time ago that Austin had some difficulty with was, and I don't know if this is because we hadn't really thought through the combat mechanics, but the fact that the way it handles and if we're handling the strong hit correctly, one hit with light, if a little bit lucky went in the storytelling, and Amala could completely demolish He Who Walks Behind, who's supposed to be this big uber boss.
Yep.
Is supposed to be an epic level boss, and yet at a relatively low level, Amala could completely demolish him. And so there's a little bit of unbalance there, and I don't know if that's because we haven't thought through the mechanics that way, because we're not trying to make the mechanics work for us. It's like, oh, we need this, where in the mechanics do we find that sort of thing? It's not, okay, we read the rules, how do we implement that, because of the way we've approached it. So
But I think that might be offset by, yes, you can wipe out. I mean, if we got all the way through this, another 30 episodes from now, we finally face off against He Who Walks Behind. If we don't have the power to kill him, there's no point. But if
and
we
maybe
get
it
there
also has to do with
abilities,
how I'm using my other assets, like like light. It might be that I'm supposed to be limiting it, that I can only use 1 light at a time, because if I throw 6 light at something and it adds 2 to a roll, that's 12 right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But and that's
but
I think.
But if He Who
walks
Walks Behind gets to go
make He Who Walks
first,
Behind.
Although it was
Huge.
kind of going that way, where we were a little overpowered.
yeah.
But I had a conversation with. I noticed Austin. I noticed his discomfort, and I asked him about it, and he mentioned it's like, okay. So, and I changed how I was playing Amala's stuff to limit that.
Oh, okay.
And I
But
know we definitely
I'm
talked
okay
about
with
just
that,
like
because if he
upping the
if you
challenge
fail,
rating.
yeah, exactly. If you fail, you'll take 5 from an epic boss. You're done. 1 hit and you're finished. So
Yeah, it's kind of one hit either way.
exactly,
So
I'm okay with that.
We've
Right?
gotten very creative about avoiding the direct combat.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just an avatar.
Which I think
It's
you
not
would.
the creature. It's okay, we're actually dealing about this particular thing, this particular shadow, not He Who Walks Behind himself. So we've kind of narrated our way around that a bit. And maybe that is the way to do it. Maybe that's the way Sean Tompkins intended that to be. Oh, we should probably put a reminder up again of the system we're talking about, because it's not widely known.
Yes.
I need to remember to do that periodically.
He's also done a new one, and they're still adding stuff to it on a regular basis. I want to say it's called Star. Oh my goodness! What is his other game? Starforge. I think that's what it is. If you're faster fingers than me, if you wouldn't mind looking it up. Starforged, and it is a similar mechanically. It's very similar to Ironsworn, which makes sense. I mean, it's an incredibly robust system. Why wouldn't you use it more than once? But it's set in a
But the way you
futuristic
think
science
about things
fiction.
like augury and a science fiction
Mhm.
thing is going to be kind of different.
Absolutely, yeah. They've got different names and different descriptions, but yeah, it is another system that he's come out with. So if you like the idea of this sort of
And don't want to
the
play in the Iron
system,
Age.
well, yeah, and the system exactly the system you like, but you don't like the world it's in. There is an option. So,
Well, and it's hard, because I think about Callista, and if Callista were a powerful priestess sort of thing in an Iron Age hall, and yet in my mind and in some of these cut scenes, I essentially have her striding up and down, pacing in a medieval great hall with the stone walls and the banners and the stuff like that. It's like I had to go out and do image searches. It's like, okay, what would this actually be? Okay, let me reframe my cutscene.
yep,
Quick preview of the cutscene I have ready for.
this is now a thatched roof longhouse, right? Yeah.
Well, exactly,
Yeah.
because medieval and
We're so
Iron Age
familiar
are
with
so different.
fantasy. Yes, and we're so familiar with fantasy medieval,
Mhm.
which isn't a lot like real medieval, but
No,
it's such
Yeah.
a common image that it has shortcuts and archetypes that everybody knows.
yeah, I call it
so-
it faux medieval.
It really is.
FAUX,
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fantasy medieval. So, on the other hand, I really like trying to get into the fantasy Iron Age.
Mhm.
Because
Which I
it
think
helps
we
bring the
can
Iron Age
do.
more alive, which is a lot
Yeah.
of fun. And let's face it, humans in the Iron Age were every bit as creative, inventive, and they were still recognizably human in the
Yes.
Iron Age. So it can be a lot of fun.
It can be a lot of things, especially from like a place that has magic and wyverns. Like, I mean, there's still forms of magic here, so I feel like we can kind of play a little bit with the elements. It doesn't have to be this is the Iron Age.
Although, with the exception of the magical animals, which are kind of inherent to this plot that we built as we went along, they most of the magic in this world is I can see it from our point of view looking back going, oh look, they're doing silly rituals, they think they're protecting themselves by the fire, just no creatures showed up that night. Right? It's if you want to be really skeptical about it, you could write off most of what's happened in this game as the power of their minds and not being magic.
Well,
but then there's a
and
wyvern,
even
so
Yeah.
well, but even some of it, and some of it I even framed, because when Amala did the ritual and she pulled the essence of the land around her to do, essentially to take this crow shape that then banished and chased off all of the, we had dozens of wyvern, and chasing it off. It's like, okay, how does someone who was an apprentice 28 days ago do this? Okay, so it's an illusion with the crows, but it succeeds in chasing off most of the wyverns, except for the ones that then tore up Manja. But
well, that ties back, I think, for me, back to the Schadenfreude one earlier, because yes, I do enjoy watching Bill suffer, but part of that is Kevin sitting back here watching Bill going, how am I going to get him out of this?
Yeah.
Make it tough, make it hard, make it really difficult, and then leave it to me to figure out how to get out of this. And so that's part of that joy. I don't get that that rush unless I'm in that situation. So
it's a lot more fun to try and get out of a Lovecraftian horror, eldritch horror thing that Austin and I put everything into dumping as much as we could on you. And it's like, okay, you got to figure out how you're going to get out of that.
Well, especially when
Austin's
we're so
great.
squishy.
Austin's great at dumping stuff on. It's like, okay, so how you do it? And he goes,
Well, especially when we're so squishy and we're already like strained to the limit, especially Bill and Carradine, but like just, and that just adds another level of, we can't just go at this head on. Like, we can't just go and fight whatever's there. That's not possible.
Yeah, there's this level of responsibility. Right.
Because she doesn't need anything except will, and she's got lots of will and she carries it with her. So, everything she does is will.
But in my head, there's a level of responsibility that has been thrust on this group of 4 people that they didn't ask for, they're not ready for, and I still don't know whether they're capable of carrying it. But that's what makes this story so interesting is that
everyone
it's
else in the
forced
world,
upon them, right?
Well, I mean,
everyone
look
else in the world has shown evidence that they are all completely confident that these four people can do it.
Yes, yes,
Enemies, allies,
yes.
neutrals, bystanders,
Yep.
everyone says, yeah, they can do it.
Well, I'm like, I just think 28 days ago in story, Caradwyn was just going off to try to find out what happened the fuck to her brother.
Which
Yep.
at least you know that. You know that.
Unfortunately, Gear was looking for a wolf,
Yep.
a wolf spirit.
Yeah, he was tracking a wolf.
Amalo was living as an apprentice shaman
Yep.
with Weena,
and she was playing hooky off, at the pool, and she was playing hooky on a sunny afternoon. Yeah.
And Bill was maybe kind of sort of following a serial killer.
He is basically stealing his way across the continent on an excuse. Yeah.
Like, we've gone a long way from those main goals
But
that started
again,
it.
there's another mechanic in that game too, where you track, as you've pointed out, this guy that I'm supposed to be hunting. The whole point to Bill's original character, there is a way to keep track of how they're doing compared to how you're not doing, because I still have 0 marks in that column. I have done absolutely 0 on that particular quest. And so
I've brought him gruesomely and vividly to
Yep.
life in the imagery for you.
But
And
because
he said,
of that,
nope.
I found
said,
no way to
"Nope,
work it
let's
into
go
the
this other
game. But
way,"
I have
yeah.
been keeping track, and as far as there's been at least 5 or 6 other of these events now as this guy travels across wherever he's going, which I still don't know. But I assume we're going to meet them by accident at the end somewhere.
Assumedly.
Oh shit! Maybe it's Tincture.
Maybe.
Well, and I think
He was the killer all
the
along.
young what was the new shaman at Aiden, thank you. And I've forgotten the name of his circle too. It's been too long. Gray Barrow.
Yeah.
Young Aiden, that whole thing where, I mean, in some ways that was kind of sweet, and in some ways it was kind of fun to toss somebody else in the deep end, the way our characters have been tossed into the deep end.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, welcome to the club, kid.
Join us.
It's like, he wasn't even an apprentice; he was an assistant. The gopher for it.
Yeah. He was the apprentice. He was just I'll fetch that for you person. And now all of a sudden
It's like opening up that.
shaman,
and now he's the circle shaman. But and having that, it's like, okay, so let's show him, let's show him an augury. But Amala brought with it her concerns, her fears, the experience, the trauma she had just been through. And it turned into for those who have not seen it, I think we have warnings all up on that video. A very, very graphic vision of Bill's inciting incident. Bill is that way.
Yeah.
Or Kevin's that way. Of Bill's inciting incident. I mean, it was so graphic. There was a big silence and I can't, very clear on faces. I can't believe she just went there.
Which a lot of that was also Robin, but also Aiden, so it fit.
It fit. And yeah, we put up 18 plus and warnings on that episode. And so the thing is, this poor kid has just been told, yep, you're nominated, you're going to be the shaman. And his first experience with a ritual ended up traumatizing him quite literally. But then the next thing that happened was we took him, first of all, she pointed to Bill. It's like, that's who you saw going through this. Uh-huh. And it's like, okay, here's the flip side of the shaman is I now have to bring this up with Bill. I have to address it with Bill. Here's the other half. It's not just the having the power and having the visions. Here's what you do with it. Yep. And then sort of bringing Bill through it. It's like, okay, Bill, you need to be upfront now about what you're really here about. Yep. And so that I didn't expect any of that episode or scene, but it was really cool in a lot of ways of Amala dealing with trauma, actual consequences for the things you go through. It's like, okay, we don't just do this magic, we accidentally bring stuff in with us and we get in over our heads and we start drowning and all of that. And the levels of depth on that, yeah. And also finding out that that Karis as a person also, it's like, sure, I can go there and do this very graphic thing that is beyond, it's not just beyond the veil, it's beyond the line for a lot of players role-playing situations.
Fair enough, yeah.
At least it wasn't a role-playing, it was a vision description, but that was still crossing a line for a lot of people. It was very graphic and it involved a child. So, and very violent and involved a child.
And that's something that I've
but it fit.
Yeah, it was
one of my best friends and I
narratively necessary, and that's the key point to that. So
one of my best friends and I, we've been writing for the last 10 years now together, just kind of like a loose RP thing. We both write novels and we kind of just meshed our worlds together and saw what happened. And we call it our fun place, where we can both get out the cliched, dumb things out, but also the really, really dark things that either we don't want to necessarily talk about or know that like we'd never show this to anybody. Like
the dirty corners that
the horrible, nasty
nice people, because we're really horrors. We're really not nice people.
The horrible, nasty, triggering sides of it, and we've got hundreds. Like I think we have over 500 Google Docs, of 100 pages, because eventually the shared documents we have slow down at around 100 pages. And
Google Docs does, yeah.
Yeah. We were using Google Docs back in 2010. We were using Google Docs back in 2010 when it first became a thing. We used to do it over the phone, both writing in a notebook. But that's how we found that outlet for those really, really dark things that you don't necessarily want to bring to, a role-playing aspect, or with other people you don't know exactly what their limits are, or with an audience or something like that, because it's easy to kind of like drift kind of over there. But I think it was also a really good moment, both for Amala and for Aiden and Bill.
Yeah, it ended up being really something very healthy and beautiful in the conversation afterwards, and then the returning back into the circle where Caradwin and Gear had been trying to listen in on this. It's like, well, okay, what was going on? It ended up being a very nice, but there's no getting around the fact that Karis's brain does this.
Yeah.
And I have a character in another campaign that does this a lot.
Well,
I think, this nice warm fuzzy grandma, have a cookie.
I think that's that's important. Thank you for bringing that up, because I think a lot of people, when they're role playing and they have that thought, they don't say it because they're afraid that people are going to think, oh my God, they're going to find out I've got this dark side.
They want to be their best self, their most heroic self.
Big friggin' secret. We've all got a dark side. I have never met anybody who was so good that they had never wished ill on another human being. I bet at some point Gandhi said that guy's a prick. Nobody is that good. So let it out in that healthy place. Yes.
Yeah,
yes. You can explore it.
Safe place to do.
You can let it out and let it do horrible things and see what happens and see if it's
worth traumatize people, because I think all four of us as players were somewhat traumatized by that scene. I know we went to break and we were dealing with it and we were still processing it a week later when we picked up the next session. We were somewhat traumatized, but
it was an amazing series of scenes.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
but there
take it back
is.
for love nor money, as the old saying goes.
Yeah,
But
we just put 18 plus warnings all
but
over it.
it is
Be careful watching this. Yeah,
it is
if
a
you've
good
got
point. This and
got
that's not
lines,
yeah,
yeah, we warn you that there are lines here. Yeah.
emotionally loaded content, I think, would be a fair way to describe a lot of what we do.
Yeah.
Um, some of
We
the
deal with
stuff with
very
gear,
heavy things. That's
yeah,
why I think
gear up in the
Ironsworn is
tree,
separate.
and yeah, that's one of the reasons. Yeah. Well, the other shows are 18 plus because they're rude. This one's 18 plus because it's dark. So-
Because it's dark and it leaves you drained. Like it's
Yeah.
enjoyable, but it is
Yep.
taxing in some
It's a
regard.
drama.
It's
It is
it's
absolutely a
intense.
drama. Yeah.
There are adult situations, and I know that usually people think that usually means sex, and it's like, no, these are adult, truly adult,
Yes.
not the adolescent stuff that
Not
that
teenage.
tend to
Yeah.
This is
that they tend to label as adult. No, this
Yeah.
is
no,
really
this is
adult
death
situations.
and
Value.
Death and
decay
dismemberment and
what is it
decay
to-
and taint
How
and
far will you go to
sacrifice.
be a hero? Yeah.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and everything in between. I mean, the one main story plot for Karen is finding her brother who may or may not be dead. Like
Yep.
Or
very
converted
personal.
into metal.
And
Or converted
Wookie
into metal, maybe. Who knows?
and Wookie, excellent point. It needs to come out slowly in books. It needs to come out slowly in the narrative too. These characters were
And
all
we're
broken when they
improving, but
started.
it still comes out slowly. Yeah.
And these characters showed up and met each other broken, but the processing that has happened since then has been very sort of natural, and it goes very slowly, and
Yeah. Amala wasn't broken. She's a little different there. She wasn't broken. She was unbaked.
Yeah.
yeah
She was an adolescent, she's
She's
16-year-old,
the youngest.
very, very sheltered. She wasn't broken yet, but she was also one-dimensional.
you're a piece of pottery that is just now being fired.
Yeah.
Amala is still in the kiln.
It had a little bit of turn. Yeah, it had a little bit of shaping put to it by Weena. Weena was trying to shape her into something, but the clay was not the right consistency and tended to do its own thing.
Yep.
But yeah, she had not been fired. She'd not been lacquered or whatever. I don't know enough about pottery to know exactly what it is. Glaze?
I love this. I
don't
love this question too. You fire it to make it hard, and then you can put glaze on it and fire it again to make it pretty. But if you don't fire it at least once, it's just a mud bowl. So,
It is. Yeah, and so Amala wasn't broken; she was unformed.
Right. I like that.
But she
That
got
is an
tossed
important
into this
distinction.
very stressful situation.
Yep.
And decided to make her own rules. And I think that has a different form of burden kind of thing.
She is all about will.
Yep.
And she's
Wookiee
got a lot of
is
it.
interesting.
I love this next question. Go ahead. You say this one.
At this point, how would your characters react to a peaceful day?
Twitching and looking over their shoulder. It's
Yeah,
like, wait,
what's
what's
Yeah, like asking, wait, what's wrong? I mean, honestly,
had a peaceful
considering
day.
everything, the last peaceful day was at Milva's.
Yeah, and then it turned creepy.
Yeah, I don't think we made a whole day.
And then it was all better. It's like, it got a little creepy and then a little creepier, and then we turned around and it was explicitly creepy, and we felt all better.
I think Bill's response would be guilt. Like, no, we can't be sitting here enjoying this. We got shit to do. This, if we sit here for a day, we're a day behind, then we're already behind. I don't think he could enjoy a peaceful day at this point.
Yeah, with Caradwin, it would be a mixture of okay, what's really going on? Because we've been bamboozled by all kinds of things that
all this stuff that's happened in 28 days.
28 days ago, she didn't think was possible, some of it. But also, she's been running on adrenaline for a very long time now.
28 days?
Well, 28 days, but also just in this short span that we've been in the mountains.
Yeah.
And she's had some really
we've been
heavy
short
shit
of sleep,
happen.
but we've been
short of sleep, Malwind,
yeah, we failed a lot of rest rolls.
The whole world idea of how the world works and what it's made of. I mean, the whole frame of reference of existence has blown out the window.
Yeah, well, and then there's the personal stuff with Malwind and Frostmouth, and so I think on a peaceful day, either she would be too paranoid to think, or she'd be thinking too much, and it might, just become kind of a thing where she has to do something so that she doesn't fall too deep into that spiral.
There was a little bit of a peaceful day at the river with the bears.
Yep.
Yes.
At
Yes.
least a
Small-
We
scene,
do get
yeah,
little
a
respites.
moment.
We do
Yes.
get
Little
little
respites.
respites.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You don't get a full day.
That was a good half day. Yeah, that was a full day.
Wow. Do you
Of
realize?
the little bears and the fishing and Kira getting really weird.
Love Kira.
Do you realize how much those explanations sounded like what soldiers in World War One wrote when they came out of their trenches and were given 2 days off in
They went
Paris?
through.
They just
I'm a
sat on a
history nerd.
bench. They just sat on a bench and shook for 2 days. It wasn't rest and relaxation.
Yeah.
There's too many reasons to not be able to unwind, right?
I'm a history minor, I know.
But-
But yeah, it's well, and that's a
military
factor
family.
that, I mean, you, Kevin, know that I bring a lot into my characters that I roleplay. Is a lot of mental illness and a lot of mental just cognitive reactions. to things.
neurodiversity is the
Yes,
wonderful,
neurodivergency,
wonderful word.
Diversity.
I really like it.
Because it's something.
So it makes our characters neurodiverse too. I love it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's something that, if you're like me, who's neurodiverse, has lived with my entire life. I don't know how to be any other way, and so it's do what you know. Like,
Yeah, but sometimes I can also sort of play normal or what I think normal is.
yeah,
you
and
can
I
code
can
switch.
see how it works out. It's like, okay, I've seen people do this all my life. I don't get it. I don't see why they get the response they do. So I'm going to try it. And sure enough, I don't get the response they do, and I still don't get it. But hey,
Yeah.
I actually tried it in a safe space, and
Yeah.
But
That's just one thing that's always like with TV shows and stuff, something really big and dramatic and traumatic would happen to these characters, and then the next episode they wouldn't say anything about it. They'd maybe have one flashback episode
it'd be all
later
better.
on,
Yeah.
but they'd be all better. And that was something that was always like really fascinating to me, because I was always like, well, I want to know how that changed them, or how that affects them outside of like this one specific situation they get into later. Like I want to know like what the fallout from that was. Like a lot of my examples go back to Star Trek, because that's what I grew up on. But it's just these things that fundamentally change you as a person and as a character would, that it's cool to see that played out and that committed to. It's not just a aspect of the character or the story that you're using for shock value or for the main story. It's a part of that, but you also then follow through with, okay, well, this happened, now there's consequences for my character. There's consequences for how they think, how they respond, how they feel, and how they react and interact with the people around them in the world later on. And that's something that I like to think about in degree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess the follow-up question has to be, once they finish whatever it is, however we usher in this new world, are any of these characters going to be in a position to be able to enjoy it?
No.
Oh.
No, because the thing is, this I've been through before.
Yeah.
It's essentially they become part of the pantheon. Essentially, they become
Yes.
patrons guiding others. Their role changes absolutely completely.
It's not their world
it
anymore
very
either.
nearly makes them unplayable. They're very nearly unplayable. You can, when you have a group of them, you can just sort of change the level of what you're playing, and instead of playing, here in the combats and stuff in this elven kingdom, you're now doing here's what the gods are doing among the worlds. You can do that. Yeah. Although one of the things about this group, and I've kind of thought about it some, is I don't know how we end this. I don't know how we wind it down, because the way we do the improv, there's always something to react to. There's always the next thing. We always drop a teaser in or whatever. Yep. And, at some point we're going to want to wind it down so that we can try the next thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how do we do that with this? I have no idea.
Because
'Cause we're
I
never
see
gonna-
there's a natural there is a natural limit to this game. We built it in completely by accident. There are, what is it, 9 territories?
Yes.
Therefore,
So you
there are
think when we
9
get-
spirit
so-
animals. When we pick up
So
the
when we
ninth,
get all 9,
if we get all 9, I think we failed on one, or we're close to failing on one. Didn't we lose the cat in the tunnel?
we haven't actually encountered.
We haven't encountered it.
Okay.
He had a vision. We haven't had
But
a
yeah,
yes
Yeah.
or no whether.
We
So,
know about her, but we haven't actually gone to
But
get her.
the only reason I mention is because in my head we may not go 9 for 9, but once we've had
Yeah.
a swing at getting all 9 of them, when that last one hits, to me that's where that triggers it. That's our
Okay.
that's us girding our loins and taking our weaponry and turning to the gods and saying now. And then we do a series at that point. I mean,
That's how,
I
and that's the trigger to wind it down from
then
there.
we go through the then
I
we
don't,
walk
I don't
through
know
the
what
big
that would
bets,
look like. Because
Yeah.
I mean, the other one I had before, we never did actually wind it down. It was just, as schedules got, we got so that we were only playing once every 2 or 3 months, and then it was like in 6 months, and we'd come back and play, and then it just sort of dwindled out because of schedule conflicts.
I guess
We
it's-
never did explicitly wind it down to come to a conclusion.
It's also
I don't know how to
I
do that.
guess it's also, I guess, potentially possible that this game ends without that confrontation ever happening.
Yeah.
We gather the 9 creatures, we do whatever the ritual is that causes the worlds to change, and we and the old world and our enemies all disappear, leaving the new
And we
world
say we're
fresh.
done, and we don't
fresh and
answer
clean.
all the questions. We
Yeah.
leave a lot of open
We leave
questions
it all hanging out
to
in the
nag
wind.
at the
Yeah.
viewers. Yeah.
Leave
That's
it
Well,
mythical, right? Leave it mythical. Don't answer all the questions. Right?
Well, and our characters and we
This all
also
just
don't
happened.
know.
I just thought this right now, but
Well, and we don't, and our characters and we don't know what this changing of power looks like.
Yes.
We don't know if it's we hand over something, or if it's a literal change of an era.
and we
so
won't
I do know
know
in
until
real
the 4 of
life-
us start talking. So.
Until
Yeah, in real
Yeah.
life, I happened to work for a company that was taking sort of their operations stuff from the startup mode into the corporate America mode, where the things are very different. And we had a vice president that his skill set was in that transition stuff. And when we
Right.
got through the transition, he was done, and it was time for him to move on and do something else, because he wasn't even interested in maintaining it and growing it and all of that.
That's
It's like
not his
his
job.
interest was in
Yeah.
how do you do the transition stuff? And we very clearly have transitional characters.
Yes.
We're the ones that do the world across. We're not really part of the new world. We're going to usher the new world in, but we're not actually going to be part of it.
We're the key, not the lock. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
then Mirabelle will handle it from there, right?
Yes. Well, that's
Yes.
see,
By
now
then she'll
that
be
I
grown
like
up
that.
and she can take it on.
I like that. It's going to be
Have the
Mirabelle
generational
and
change.
I'm sorry we talked about him or
Aiden.
Aiden,
Aiden.
and that generation is going to be the ones that. And I just realized that world's
Although
not
it's
going to
really
have the
weird to
level
think
of magic
about
that
it
this
as
one does.
generations.
So there'll
I
be
mean, yeah, Amala
ritualists
is
whose
older than
rituals
Mira.
don't really. Yeah.
But Amala's not older than Aiden.
No.
And yet it's a generational difference. And isn't that
Yep.
kind of odd how that
You're literally from different worlds already. Because by the
Yeah.
time Amala met him, you were
in
firmly
28
in the
days.
spirit.
Well, actually,
yeah.
back then
That
with
was-
Aiden, it was
couldn't have been more
I
than a
don't know,
couple of
we were like 3
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the cloak
Because I
that
was
Gear made you
tracking-
still smelt like animal. I mean, it wasn't even dry yet.
Let's see. There's he who walks
That's
behind.
okay because he still smells
Aiden
like
and
he's strung
Amala
up from a
see-
tree.
Aiden and Amala saw Bill's memory of the family murder on day 15. We were 2
Damn.
weeks in.
2 weeks in, so yeah, about halfway to where we are now.
Because
Mhm.
I tracked the auguries.
Right.
I tracked the auguries. So that's how I have my
Every
day
augury-
tracking is I
yeah.
tracked the augury. I tracked the
brilliant.
auguries. And there were a few days I had no augury because of some situation, and a few days I had 2 auguries. But I tracked my auguries because I had
That
some sort of
is-
that. And so even though I did not manage to keep the timeline going, because I didn't have time to keep the timeline going, I did track the auguries, and that's how I still have
That
the
is
calendar.
a brilliant and very natural way to keep track of an adventure.
Yeah.
Something you do
Mhm.
every morning. So if in a traditional D&D game as a cleric, every morning write down what your spell choices are. How many days have we been at this? I don't know how many days I got
And
my
why?
list.
And
Yes.
why?
Yeah,
I
the
chose these because I'm expecting to need this today because we're about to do this. Yeah. It worked really well.
going through
Yeah.
churchyard.
Yeah,
Undead
like
spells loaded. Lol.
day one, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Day one, the crows gossiped and didn't say anything about the fact I was going to be meeting everyone. Remember
Yep.
when the crows used to do that to me?
The first 3 or 4 times, all they ever did was laughed at you. It was wonderful.
Yeah. The crows say something and the river's driving the animals away.
Yeah. So they tell you something that was
crows tell
nothing to do with the
them all
question that you asked. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the crows tell them all off for asking stupid questions.
Pardon me.
That was after we didn't have the augury because there was the wolf attack.
Right.
Up on the river.
Remember when our biggest problem was wolves?
Wolves! There was something in the river.
Shooting each other in the ass.
We faced what was she? The shade.
Shade, the mushroom shade.
Yeah,
the mushroom queen
ended
or
up being an avatar of Callista's, but yeah. Remember when that was yeah.
Our biggest issue was a couple of wolves and a shadow.
That was 24 days ago, guys. Oh my goodness.
What would Amala do to a peaceful day? What would she do? How would she
Right now, Amala wouldn't notice. Because right now, Amala is completely disconnected. She cannot tell what is reality, what is shadow, what is spirit. She can't tell. She's not she's anchored to Caradwin, but she's not anchored to place.
Right.
And
so living in 3 realms.
She would probably vary between bustling around and doing very natural, normal camp making type things, making food and stuff like that, and then just sitting there staring off into space, appearing to look at nothing. So she wouldn't. Right now, she
unaware. Yeah.
A week ago, on a day, she has been looking. So a week ago, she's been looking for time to sit down with the henna and do the next set of patterns. Although now, after that whole business with the bone and blood magic stuff and the he who walks behind twisting it, she's probably now kind of feeling a little creepy about that. Not so sure she wants to go that route. But yeah, she's been looking for a downtime day for the longest time to do that. Because I even have lined up what the next set of patterns is going to be, and actually it's going to be down on the lower calf and the around her ankles.
Nice.
I mean, I already know what the next set is, and I have known since August.
Yeah, you haven't had a body to put them on in quite a while.
Yeah, you and Gear were dead
that too. I was dead.
Time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what Amala would do with a downtime day.
So you got 2 paranoidos up here on the top row.
So
Space Cadet down on the bottom.
And we know what Gear would do. I mean, because he had an idle day at the Kadi and he did the headbutting stuff with the goats. Yeah. And what did he do with the giants and their critters? I don't remember. But I mean, that's what Gear does.
He made friends with one. He like talked friends with one of the giants. Like he was like arm wrestling.
They had a common friend.
Yeah,
they had a common friend. Yeah. So that's what Gear does. Gear's probably the best equipped to handle it.
Yeah, he just say, "Oh, day off. Okay, let's go have some fun." Yeah, and then okay, no, we're serious again. Let's go. Yeah.
Like as far as like all 4 of us, Gear is probably the most put together at this point.
Considering he's been literally taken apart.
Well, and that's what makes the scenes with Hala, which makes the scenes with Hala, because since he's been dead, we've come up with things to do to Austin. Usually it's Austin doing things to us. But Robin and I were both able to do things to Austin. I mean, that was how we got Kira, and this is how we got Hala, and it's like, what are we gonna do to Austin and Gear? Yeah, okay, I've got the character for it. Yep.
Oh, I don't know if that's right, Wookie. He just doesn't give a crap. I think he
He cares
Cares
too
he
much.
does. He cares
Jinx, you owe me a
intensely,
cookie.
but he is capable, or somehow is capable of, there's nothing I can do right now. So you know what it
Yeah,
is.
don't borrow trouble.
He's
is
capable of
it?
self-care.
Yes, he is.
Given a day off, the rest of us would sit around and worry or completely fail to
Yep.
notice it. Gear's like, headbutting a goat, see you in 8 hours.
And to have Hala teaching him about being present where you are, I thought was
Yes.
just so much fun because
Yeah.
Gear had done that to Amala so often, and to hear
Mhm.
someone else do that to Gear, and it fit, and it was true, and
Yep.
he needed it, and I just
Well, because he was going off in 5 different directions. It was spanning too far, and it was like, you need the balance.
Yep.
Story of the campaign. But
yeah, really. I mean, we've got this nice shifting balance stuff because we're playing around on a some sort of unstable thing. But
yeah, but yeah, Hollow was very fun and was not originally in the plan. He just kind of came up as a character, as most of our NPCs kind of do.
I think all of
In
our
some way.
NPCs have come up that way.
yeah, pretty much are
Oh,
off the cuff
Kira
at that
was
point.
not planned. I mean, beyond I needed something to pester Gear. that was her entire reason for being was I need
love
something to
her. It
pester
was
Gear.
great.
What will pester Gear? A puka! A puka will pester Gear. And thus Kira was born.
Yeah, and so Hollow was just, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with her at first, and I wasn't sure how we were getting Gear's body back until I think
And
a
Austin
week.
fought us tooth and nail on that. Quite a bit.
Well, and I thought about it, like I didn't come up with that technique until like a week before the last session, like after we'd already been like going for a while,
And he was giving more and more of his recap stories of taking the forms of his animals, and more and more of I've got the body, I have these claws, I have these wings, I have these teeth, and Austin was
If we'd
doing
have
more and
left
more of
him,
that.
he would have become the creatures. I think. I don't think we'd have got Gear back if we'd have just left Austin to tell Gear's tale.
Mhm.
and I think
He chased Gear's tail right up his own ass.
well, and I don't think that would have been a horrible thing. Like I think he could have done it. I just also think there's merit to having also a human Gear, but at least for our characters.
He's
From
got
that
lots of time.
standpoint.
It would have altered the collaboration very significantly.
And there's
It
still
would
lots
have
of time. I
changed the
mean,
character
that's.
Oh, yeah.
I still
Yeah.
I can see him being very much an amalgamation of these creatures by the end of it, and I can see what happens to Gear being very different than what happens to the other 3 when this is over.
Well, and that's why I kind of came up with the idea of Paula kind of teaching him the spirit walking idea, because then he could still have that freedom and that expression, but also he had a physical human form he could have that could, like, for Gear, for Bill and Carradine and Amala, that was helpful for them because they can't necessarily interact with him in the same way when he's not physical.
One of the things I really like with our improv, because what Kevin, what you just said about, different, this would be a different sort of thing from the other 3 of us. It's like each of the 4 of our characters has a completely different character arc.
Oh, yes.
We have successfully gotten them all intertwined, but no 2 of us is on the same path at all.
No, the 4 of us are going to end up in 4 different places, and I'm really looking forward to
And
that.
but still next to each other and still intertwined and still apart, which I think
I'm looking to that
is
session or
fascinating,
sessions.
and that very much comes out of this collaboration.
Yes.
And the way that we're doing the improv and the trust that we have even to hand our characters off. If Austin tells me Amala does something, okay, that's canon. Amala just did that and I'll figure out how to work it in.
Yeah.
If if I need to say something about Bill, you're going to do this. Okay. Is
Yes.
the level of trust in our collaboration sort of helps keep that intertwining that keeps us. But that's also why when one of us is missing, we can't play.
We can't. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
We
all
figured that out
four of
really
us-
early. Yeah.
We figured that really early. It's like,
Yeah.
how do we, one of us is going to be missing. How on earth do we do that? You can't, even though any of us can play any of our characters,
Hmm.
that the improv doesn't
The
work.
the synergy is not the same.
It's not the characters. It's the improv doesn't work the same.
We're
So
each
which means we
one
end up with-
corner of the brain, and one part of the
Yeah.
brain is gone.
Yeah.
Which means we end up with like a month break there and a month break here and a 2-week break there.
That's
and
how we end up with
but-
31 episodes in a year. So
in 52
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
missed nearly half. Yeah.
yeah.
So but
But that means we didn't force anything. Everything happened when everybody was here.
yeah.
This story has got this organic wholeness to it because there's no chunks missing because everybody was here for every
Yeah.
episode.
And we have a very faithful audience that is small in number and is really with us as a community.
Yes.
We've all split the brain cell evenly. Yeah. I think you're-
Thank you.
The community and where the community has been hanging with us in Discord chat, and it's very much, it's not just the 4 of us collaborating, it's the 20 of us collaborating,
Yes.
with all of our support staff. And so that has enabled us to have the freedom, like the Mercs of Mischief couldn't just do that. I mean, I think they canceled once because they had like 2 or 3 people couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But with this, we've had the freedom to do that, and we've been able to put out this piece of art that is breathtakingly amazing, frankly.
You don't rush
I-
art.
I'm
So
I am so thrilled. You do have to execute on art, though.
yes.
You can't
We
just
have done
procrastinate it out forever.
31 times we have executed at a very high level.
Yes, Anna, we are still here. Well, it's only been, we're at about the time for break if we were
Yeah.
playing a session. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like
We're not emotionally drained.
No.
But
But Anna, now you're here. Any questions for us, characters or players?
Yeah, because we're doing.
You are.
great,
I mean, we were just talking about these fans and how wonderful they are, and you are definitely
Yeah.
in that group. So
and how rich this whole experience is. I mean, the things that Faded tossed into us, the things that
yes,
it's.
Random
Yes.
suggestions.
I
are
have
like,
my
okay.
I have my robes because Faded gave a bear to Austin to
Yep.
here. So
yeah.
come to think of it, that's
Yeah.
what that traces back to. Oh. Although I do need to refill my cup. We might want to take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Now
It's-
that we
yeah.
mention it. I haven't watched Ironsworn. Well, so I suggest then let's take a 5-minute break and let's
Mhm.
come back prepared to, okay, how does someone get into it without having to watch the 31 times
30.
3 hour,
Yeah.
the 75 hours of content that we already have out there?
We have
So
an
you
answer
set
for
us
you.
up, Fana. Thank you.
And we will be back in. Yeah, let's do. Let's come back
Five-
in
at 10
about
till?
5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. See you guys in a minute. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. See you in a few. Back. We are back. We are back. Oh, thank you for sticking
just
with
making
us through the break. Thank you so much for sticking with us through the break. We have returned properly hydrated and other everything else
Mhm.
taken care of.
Cats placated.
Cats have been fed.
Yes,
Therefore, will not
good
feed on our
human.
carcasses. Yes.
Good human. Mhm. Okay, so I will take the question if I may, because I'm a control freak and I like everything to be exactly just so.
Please do.
I actually am, and I actually do. It's just anyway. So let's see here. How do you? So, quick introduction for what this is. I'm not going to start by how you engage it. I'm going to first start off with what this is. So we started off with Ironsworn is the gaming, the tabletop role playing game system that we're using, and it's a very unique system. It's really been interesting to work in, and its kind of original setting is sort of a fantasy Iron Age, as opposed to most role playing games are either a fantasy medieval, think Lord of the Rings type stuff, or a fantasy, space opera. So this is a fantasy Iron Age, which is and where the mechanics are truly unique. You've got assets and stuff rather than building levels and things like that. Is why Kevin chose it, I presume. I think I've heard you say that. Yep. Anyways, that's what's canon now. But one of the other things about this particular system is it explicitly has a cooperative mode where it's collaborative improv. You do not have a dungeon master. We are all co-equal owners, the three of us and Austin, who's usually in his absence is why we're doing it just chatting instead of playing the game tonight. And so the way that we are playing Ironsworn, the four of us happen to prioritize role play very highly anyways, and all of us have a preference for using mechanics to support that. So it's like, okay, I need some sort of a random thing, and I don't care what it is, but I sort of need some sort of random thing. Okay, here's some roles to do this, and I need some things that sort of gives prompting for success and things like that. But the key of the story is improv between the four of us within some guidelines. And so we have a party of characters. I play a shaman, and Robin plays a ranged warrior. More of a ranged fighter than a ranger, but
you were a hunter before this, right?
Hunter.
Yeah, so she's more of a fighter, but she uses ranged weapons. Mm-hmm. We have Austin is essentially a barbarian, if you want a D&D type translation.
A barbarian druid.
A barbarian druid. Yes, a barbarian druid. And then we have our thief. Where are you? You're over there. Yeah, our thief, yeah. and but
it sounds like the start of a bad joke, right? It's a thief, a thief, two hunters, and a shaman walk into a bar, right?
And turn the world completely upside down. So what we have sort of emerged into, we didn't know what we were doing. In the story that we have we've been playing this now for a year. We've got 31 sessions out in YouTube, and we are kind of at a transition, which the world technology-wise is converting from Bronze Age to Iron Age. But also we've got the old races. One of the premises in the system itself is that the humans came to this world and there were the firstborn that are, these other non-human races. And, you, at the beginning, you do session 0 that starts off with, you choose, why did we come? What did we find here? All that sort of stuff. And so we kind of ended up with, so the world is converting in technology, but the nature of magic is converting, and it's converting over into a human society as opposed to a society of elves and wolf people and giants and these other races. And we've kind of stepped into the place where our characters are the pivotal catalyst, essentially, that is making the change. And so the antagonists that we've come up against have been, either the people whose world is dying and they don't want to let go, or the people who want to step in and rule the new world and want to shape it in their image. And so we're at this, pivotal changing of the eras, and we're shepherding that in. So that's kind of the premise of what we're doing. And we're ending up with all sorts of stuff, walking off in shadow and walking off in spirit. We're doing plane stuff, various plane stuff, and we're twisting magic and auguries beyond all recognition. And we now have built up a bunch of allies in some of the firstborn races. We have contacts in other human communities. We've helped sort of improve the networking and how the circles work. The circles are the villages, the little communities, how they work together, and have negotiated some of the relationships between those. And so we've done quite a bit of that in it too. Okay, so I'll turn it over to the next person. How would someone enter into this, or how do they engage with our series?
Well, I'm getting looked at.
Kevin's just the streamer. This is an example of how all of us own this.
We will now
ahead,
allow
Robin.
the lore master to speak, because this is absolutely Robin's bailiwick. Is that how it's pronounced?
Bailiwick. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
and there's a link to the wiki.
The best way to catch up in a short amount of time would be definitely to see our wiki. I try to keep it as up to date as possible. There's some things I still need to add, but that's kind of minimal at this point. I think some pages on our like villains and stuff, but I've got a full page of all the episodes we have with links to the YouTube videos, but also with descriptions of what happened that don't go very deep into every single thing, but kind of give you a good overview of where our characters are, what they are now doing, where they're going, who they're seeing, that kind of thing. So if you really wanted to get caught up in a quick scan of a page on a wiki, that's where you would go, definitely. We also have about 31 episodes on YouTube, so not horribly long to catch up with, but honestly,
it is so intense you wouldn't want to binge watch it.
It's so intense you wouldn't want to binge it necessarily. Yeah. And even if you're coming in on an episode and you haven't caught up, you haven't seen the wiki, you haven't seen the YouTube videos, I don't think it would be too terribly hard to understand where we're coming from, because we're not dealing with a lot of backstory lore so much as the interpersonal relationships of the four of us and our main characters and whatever NPC happens to be there, which all four of us play all of the NPCs. And so I don't think having to figure out like backstory of where they came from or what they're doing. We're trying to help the world, save the world, typical hero story. All of us are raggedy and travel is hard and squishy. And the four of us have been chosen and don't feel at all qualified, but everyone else thinks we are. So in that way, I think it's a rather easy thing to kind of jump into. The rules are a little different, and like the world in and of itself is different. If you're used to, things like D&D or things that are more medieval, then definitely there might be some things where it's like, that's weird, or that's, there's some rules here that they're talking about that don't make sense. But if that doesn't bother you to have those kind of misconnections, I think it'd be fine.
And since we're a small community, we're highly responsive to chat.
Yes.
So if you ever don't quite know what's going on, you put it in chat and we stop and explain, because we've been sitting here for 2 hours chatting and explaining. We can do it all day long.
And to be fair, I think we explain a lot of it as we go along. No matter how many times we roll a strong hit, and what does that mean? And we know what they mean.
We have to remind ourselves because we roll so rarely.
It's been so exactly. It is not something else you will find when you watch the back episodes. There are a number of episodes with one roll in them, and there's at least one that was it was quite literally a formality. It's like, oops, we should roll.
And actually, session 30, so 2 episodes ago, is actually a pretty good entry point. The episode was titled Reunions. Mm-hmm. Our characters had just spent an effort where we were all 4 off doing different things, split the party. We'd split the party more than just 4 ways. And that was where both in the recaps and our characters came back together and we were briefing each other on what was going on. So that's actually a pretty good episode to sort of see some of the dynamics between us and get caught up on some of the brief stuff of the story as we're briefing each other. I use the Mercs of Mischief, their crossover episodes, for exactly that. As the Warlocks and the Mercs were telling each other what was going on. It's like, right, I'm all caught up.
Well, and that's another thing. That's another good thing. We do this thing where we recap from each character's point of view at the beginning of every episode. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have time to watch all the episodes, just watch the recaps. Yep. We pretty much go into detail of what's happened.
It's the first 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
It's usually 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Like 4 or 5 minutes each. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
sort of where we're
even
at
that is
mentally.
just a nice chunk. It's not you're not binging a whole show, you're not getting all the things, but you're getting kind of the emotional place of the character we're telling it from, and the kind of most significant pieces.
And it gives you
And
that
so
in their head look at these characters too. So at the start of every episode, it's like, here are these 4 individuals, and here's where
And
they're at.
occasionally we have a recap from a significant NPC's point of view too.
we had a period where 2 of our characters were dead, so we had step-in characters for them, and they had pull-throughs. Of course, they interacted with us when they were dead, so it's kind of convoluted in that regard,
But you can sort that out on the wiki too, because all the NPCs are on there as well. So
the major NPCs are there. And if you ever have any questions, ask in Discord. We love going back, and then we'll start debating with each other, and then you start really seeing the interactions between us too. Yeah.
And if there is anybody that's in here that's not in Dirty 20, please join there too, so that way you've got all the communications are possible.
Is that the Dirty 20 Discord, or is that the Ironsworn Discord?
This one I am not 100% sure. I think this is probably the Dirty 20 Discord, because I changed it. Yeah, I realized.
And then I have the link separate to everything.
Yeah, we do have a separate Ironsworn Discord as well, because the first of all, it's an ongoing thing, which most of the other Dirty 20 games are either one shots or short series. And yes, Anna is very definitely in both. The conversation in the Ironsworn Discord tends to be more intense, darker. We talk about character development and ongoing plot, and the conversation, the ideas you bring up and the questions you ask very definitely get reflected in the next session, because it's now top of mind and brain. So what do we improv? We improv off of what we've done recently. And,
because we don't have a plan for the story. We
don't know what's going to happen. It's all improv.
Yeah.
It's all improv.
By the time we go back live.
It's very dark.
Yeah.
So if you have lines you don't want crossed, they don't happen often, but they do happen. We end up every single session absolutely exhausted, and we usually have to take a 15 to 20 minute break, because it's like, oh, okay, we got to catch our breaths enough here in order to continue on the second half of the show. Very intense, very dark, very cathartic, very
emotional, tends to be very violent in description and just in the
vividly
world.
Graphic occasionally. Yeah,
it's a very deadly world. Yeah,
it's a very deadly world. Yeah, my character accidentally launched a zombie apocalypse that wiped out an entire circle. Yep. I killed everybody in the village at once.
Yep, we've had ritual sacrifices that we've encountered personally. We had other deaths that have been more.
We've flat out committed murder on more than one occasion.
Flat out committed murder. And on one case, it was indirect because it was a vision. It wasn't something that was directly happening, but it tied into a backstory, and it was quite graphic and involved violence with a child. So, this gets real, but it has a consistency to it. It has a heart to it. Our characters are affected by it, and our characters deal with the trauma, and we carry the scars of that trauma multiple sessions after that as we work our way until we get some health back, and we have a day where we sit by the river and play with bears, with baby bears, and a puka who drops fish on people's heads, and stuff like that, in order to lighten the tension occasionally.
Yes.
So
and I think that's one of the
really something
cautionary parts about having something that's completely improv, no plan in sight, is that sometimes those things do come up in that way, and it's organic, but it can cross that line for some people, and that's just something we want to make sure if people are prepared for or can stay away from if they don't want to be a part of that.
And if you have particular lines, you might you can feel free to, if we're getting close to a line, shutting off and not watching the stream, or
I was just going to say yes,
or don't watch the stream at all. Ask us, tell us what your lines are, and we'll tell you, okay, the session we just did is safe for you to watch, and you can watch the VOD the next day or whatever.
Definitely, you can contact us.
We also have had some people tell us that it has been, because it's so real and so visceral, that it has been somewhat cathartic for them too.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
feel free to bring your whole selves, your dark selves, your light selves, your broken selves, your whole selves. We bring ourselves completely and wholeheartedly to this.
This is
This
butt
is
naked
small
improv
community intense.
is what this is. This is just like souls in the wind. Here's who we are improv. So it is very intense.
Our characters are heroes out to save the world, but we are very squishy, vulnerable, and stretched to the limit.
And we make mistakes and we do things wrong, and
we don't level up. We don't get more health.
Nope.
We don't always get our health back at the end of the day.
We never get our health back.
We never get.
No, we do.
Never,
it's been a long time since I was at 5 health and 5 spirit.
Yeah, we get
a
5 health
hit on our sojourn, and we do manage to get some rest.
And one of the main mechanics of the system is that travel is hard and takes a long time, and so we're dealing with a much more kind of realistic side to the fantasy role play than you can sometimes get with other systems where it's a lot
4
more
days later you
heavy.
arrive in Waterdeep.
yeah
that's it.
With all your health, and you've leveled up to 59 health and you're fine.
And really, so also, we have 31 sessions out there. It covers 28 in-game days.
Mm-hmm. All that to say, it's very fun and we enjoy it, and the story's great. It's just, it can be rough, but I don't think that catching up in any capacity is difficult nor completely necessary if you want to just jump right in. And
we're improving, so you jump right in and you don't know what's going on. That's okay. We don't know what's going on either. So
we literally don't know what's gonna happen by halftime when we start. So
or we'll have an idea and someone will pop in something. We'll be like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah, one of us will come in. Okay, I've had some thought. I've had ideas, as Austin puts it. Come in, start the ideas, but then that sparks. I've been thinking, but then that sparks ideas in each other, and it starts bouncing off. And that's what.
No. Austin doesn't even say that. He goes,
oh, danger.
That's when he's just had a thought. Yeah, you can tell we're in trouble.
You can tell, yes. It's like, oh no. It's like, well, lay it on us, Austin.
It's halfway between joy and shame, right? It's just,
So I will say, as one thing, if you have problems with speeders or arachnophobia, I do too. That is not part of this game. That is one of the lines that are there.
We do not have. Yep. Yes, that's true.
I'm also arachnophobic. Yes. So if that is an issue for you in that regard, they don't exist in this world. You're okay.
That's right. We got wyverns full of spiky iron fish hooks, but no spiders.
We do have a cockroach, but I drew him very cute. So
he is really cute. Yeah.
Yes, that's our cockroach.
He's also a celestial demigod, maybe. So we don't know yet.
Kind of.
Or spirit creature. Yeah.
It turns out I'm his asset, not the other way around, right? Like, yeah. Bill
You're his companion. It's not.
Yeah, I'm his
companion.
toy. Yeah.
No spooters. You're okay. So one thing that's a complete no. We probably have other ones that are a complete no's, but that was one that was from the get-go.
Yeah.
And there's the importance of having session 0.
Yeah.
Some stuff applies to no matter what system you're playing.
Although there are some things that I think are lines.
Yeah, I think there's ones that we have not talked about that won't.
But when I get to them, it's kind of like my lines. My lines are all about gratuitous stuff.
Yeah.
I think there are very few things that if it really truly fits, I'm not sure there's even the things I thought were lines. Well, I mean, that one vision I did so graphically, I thought that was a line of mine, and I'm the one who did the graphic vision. So,
like with Caradwin kind of came out of a RPG I did with some friends out of their world, and I kind of just transplanted her into this, and so I changed things that dealt with the main crux of the person's world and their story because it came from their novel type thing. But also there were some things that were kind of like iffy a part of it. There were some things that were a little bit more questionable between, like her life at home and stuff like that. And so those were things I changed to make a little less ambiguous or kind of because I don't like necessarily using that as just a personality trait or a story point. And in the previous world, that was a factor. That was how it worked, and so it fit there, but it no longer fit here, and so I changed it. And so I think that's also an aspect of being conscious of what certain things we're willing to do and also, does it have a point? Does it have some kind of thing that we can make meaningful or important, or if it comes up, like it's not for shock value or to get people uncomfortable. We don't want to make anybody
it has to be necessary. Yeah,
exactly.
And
we're not here to make you squirm.
One of the things we haven't mentioned is one of the reasons why the system is called Ironsworn is one of the key features of it is you make an iron vow, where you make this vow, and that's part of your character arc, and this is part of your goal for what you are going to do. We are just as likely to break vows, for swear vows. Vows become moot. But we also have consequences. It's not just, okay, well, we just sort of drop that by the wayside. It's like there's some pretty dark consequences because this iron vow is a very significant thing. And you take, actually, I should let Kevin talk about that particular part.
I always go
actual damage. I mean, it really hurts. It damages your characters.
And I go back to when Bill explained how he accidentally swore an iron vow, and Amala's reaction was complete shock and horror. Like, you swore a vow? Like it's a big deal. And he managed to do it accidentally. It's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
But it also carries psychic resonances, world. It has karmic meaning to it as well.
And it also has very, very vicious mechanical in-game effects too. In the current situation, in the current situation that Bill is in, if he were to, as I said earlier in this conversation, there's two vows that they're bound to be broken by Bill. That there's just no way he's going to be able to succeed without breaking them. If he were to do either one of them right now, he would die. Because I'm already, only reason I'm conscious is because Caradwin shook me awake. I'm at 0 spirit and 1 health.
Caradwin carried him out. Pulled him up and barely got out herself. It's a whole thing. Eldritch horror, cave,
But it is also mechanically in the game how you earn experience is by completing vows. So by failing to complete them, you not only are punished, you also don't advance. We've actually now, to be fair, we have actually broken that rule a little bit, and we've gone, no, that was worth 2 experience. That that scene was worth experience. You would have earned this, or earned this accent. Yeah, it makes sense that you would now have this.
The system. Yeah, but when they augmented the system with the delve rules, they included the failure track. So yes, we're doing that, but
which you can also fail, as Caradwin learned.
Fail to learn from your mistakes.
Actually, Amala did too. It's like, okay, I learned a total wrong lesson from that.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It is a really unique system. Yeah, Ironsworn itself. It really.
It's fun. Yeah.
And the core rule book is
the creativity. It is, yes.
Just point that out. The core rule book is free on the website that Sean Tompkin has. I think Delve you have to pay for, and then I'm not sure about Starforged. But
Starforged is paid as well.
It's paid. I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you use Roll20,
but it's like it's like D&D. The core rule set is free these days. But Ironsworn started out. The core rule book was free.
And if you use Roll20 as your virtual tabletop, the character sheet in there by Ethan is spectacular. It is
really good.
literally click and go. It tells you just follow the instructions. I think you could play this game just with that sheet, just by reading the sheet and going, no, that's what I'm doing, clicking it and then following through on that. I think you
Following
could play the game
instructions,
just
says,
on
yeah.
that. It is spectacularly well done. Do not let the fact that it's 5 pages long put you off. It's really easy.
A lot
to
of that
use.
is just rollable tables.
Yep.
Or
It really
fill in the
is.
blank.
You know,
Or fill
oracles
in the
for
blank
all sorts of
bonds.
things, or
Yeah.
you know, you want to do this. And one other feature about this rule system that's different from others is the way it handles combat.
Mhm.
The opponents in the combat don't do anything.
They never roll
You
dice.
roll, am I defending against you or am I attacking you? Do I have initiative on you or do you have initiative on me? It's always from my frame of mind. It's never from their frame of mind, which makes,
Yes.
so they never get a turn. It's like on my turn, we have a combat and here's the result of it, sort of thing.
Well, and a part of that is also because Ironsworn can be played single player mode.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is done a lot actually over on the internet. I'm sure there's tons of examples of people doing so. So that's one of the reasons why I believe this, so that you can be just one person playing by yourself if you want.
And you can get a random site and it has these characteristics and it's, you know, generator, here's, you see an NPC, here's their name, here's their role, here's a character trait about them. So this is why it's 5 pages long. There's all these rollable tables and stuff to give you the random stuff for single player.
But yes, that is also a very good point. It is for the co-op mode and the solo player mode. This game is spectacular for anybody that wants to do that. So if you want to role play but you don't want to deal with people, you can do it with this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what other questions do we have? Let's see.
Mostly comments lately, but
Mostly comments
Those are
lately.
nice too.
so you can get caught up on the wiki. You can get caught up over on YouTube. You can watch. I like Karis's idea. Just watch episode 30 and 31, and you'll be pretty much up to speed on what's going on.
And when in doubt,
and
if there's
stuff
something you have a question on, you can watch the recaps.
Yep.
Recaps, or ask us in Discord, or ask us in
Ask us.
chat on the fly. It's like someone makes a reference, like, what's that? Ask in chat on the fly. I mean, we don't have thousands and thousands of watchers, so chat doesn't go by spinning by so fast. You can see tonight is a pretty typical chat, frankly, so we can easily keep up with it and keep integrating it in.
Well, and also half the time, if one of us brings up something, it's highly probable that one of us at least doesn't remember it. Like, because it
That's
might
me.
have been from
We can't
something.
just look it up.
It might have been from something else that wasn't pertinent to our character, and so like we didn't remember it or write it down or didn't watch that episode enough, and so whatever. And so the reminder never hurts either.
We have even used suggestions from chat in the game live. So we cannot guarantee that we'll do that, but it has happened in the past. So
Favorite character shoes to be in that isn't your main character? Well, for me, it's pretty easy. Because one of Karis's character traits is being kind of pesky and liking to pester people. And I created an NPC specifically to pester Austin's character. So I love playing Kira. She's a puka that comes in and does really kind of behaves very strangely and weirdly. And she's
Spirit
fun
business.
to play.
yes.
Spirit business. I mean, it's telling these totally irrelevant stories. And it's
Powerful,
like,
curious.
Power. I get power. I didn't want to have anything to do with it with spirit business, but I get so powerful, curious about it. And it's oh, so how about you, Kevin? What's your favorite character shoes
I
to be
realized I'm my own. I'm in this case. The answer is I'm literally my own worst enemy. I love playing Tincture. I like being that sneaky,
Amazing.
miserable bastard that can just go, no, I'm not here anymore, and just go into the dirt. Like, there's always a way out. He's uncatchable. He's just, he's so slimy and so opposite of Bill that I love playing Tincture.
Yeah, and I've got to say my favorite's probably Mirabelle. Just because
12-year-old girl who wants to be an adventurer.
She wants to be an adventurer. She's young in this kind of harsh world, and she has so much potential for where she can go and what she can do. We've already used her character in quite a few ways. And
we
so
killed her mother.
We killed her mother.
We killed her mother. We traumatized her circle and completely rebuilt, broke down their defenses and rebuilt them. We've
But I think she's probably one of the most versatile ones within the world. Because she is young and she doesn't quite have the same grasp of the weight of the world yet, because she's still young. And so I think
iron spearhead.
Has an iron spearhead now, and is gonna be an adventurer. That is the only thing that I have decided for her, is that she will be an adventurer.
I like the idea that she's the first hero of the new world. Right.
Yeah, she has a stone-headed spear too that Gear broke down to her height.
Yeah, and then he also gave her the iron spearhead. But yeah, she knows how to use a spear, and she will be an adventurer.
Yep.
Yeah, she will.
So I like the idea that she's the first hero of the new world. Like she's the one that we cleared the path for, right?
Yeah.
Got it nice and primed.
And that might be our graceful, and that might easily be our graceful way to wrap this stuff up eventually, is when we can hand it over.
We quite literally hold the door open.
And when we hand it over to the next generation and turn them loose. Now we need more than just Mira and Aiden. We're going to need at least a couple more, but we're not ready to wrap this up yet either.
No, for sure. But yeah, it's that we're not coming with you moment, right? So yeah. I can absolutely see that. Anyway,
well, and I think it's
we've
also
got 30 episodes to forget and remember that twice.
Well, and I think it's also a matter of like bringing child characters into this world is kind of like, we know how bad we make it for ourselves, so it's kind of like,
it's risky.
Well, I mean, Amala is only 16.
That's true. That's true.
Yep.
Amala's a child. She's an adolescent, but she is very young.
Yep.
And in my head, I had that completely wrong. I remember we had that offline conversation.
Yes,
first thing I said about her was she's mature. And you're like, no, she's not.
Like,
she's like
no,
16. Okay, I changed that to she's wise beyond her years.
Well, but she has flashes of that, but it's not consistent.
Yes.
And then very young do have those flashes of wisdom and all this.
Oh,
but
yes.
And then Gear and Caradwin are around like 30, and then Bill is
as old as you can be and not dead in this world is basically how. Like,
50s,
if Bill were to walk through a town, you'd go, oh shit, old dude, right? I mean, he's in the Iron Age. He's an old man. So,
yeah.
Which is probably why he hasn't been hung.
We have the oldest player playing the youngest character. Which is really kind of funny, because I tend to find when I got back into role playing a little over 2 years ago, it was, I was so used to making my first level characters young, because let's face it, they're getting started out. And I quickly found that just so tedious. I was so sick and tired of playing late adolescents. I didn't want to do it. So I made a elderly grandma gnome cleric that pokes people with her. So she's pesky. She pokes people with her knitting needles, and she confiscates everything that's sharp and sticks it in her knitting bag. But it's funny because when I made Amala, I made her very young. I made her as an apprentice, and I'm actually enjoying taking her through the maturation process. So I don't know if that's because of the system, or if that's because of the collaboration and how we're playing, or what.
Because
she's not just another. She's not just another, young thing. I'm too old to play that kind of
she's not
anymore.
building power at some kind of steady rate. She's not like,
that's true.
You get this many spells now, and you're now a god. You kind of are still the same character that you were when we left Kinheim, but not because of your stats, but because of your your
she's learned how to wield will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Her build is entirely will based, and man, over the last 28 days has she learned how to wield her will.
Well, Can
Her
you
will
imagine?
persists even when she's dead. She's still willful.
Oh, can you imagine
In
anything more
every sense
willful?
of that word.
Imagine
Than a
anything more
teenager?
willful than a 16-year-old girl? Yeah.
Every sense of the word willful, she's
Yeah.
got it.
Oh.
Okay, so let's see what's next. What holes do we have? Sort of where are the next places we're going to need NPCs? I have a cutscene with Callista coming up because she's a recurring bad guy.
Yeah. Well, we have a whole part of this continent that we haven't traversed at all. If we're going to be going after the other
coastal areas and all.
the coastal areas, the
Bill does not want to go there. That will be an issue if you want to go back there, because that's where he's wanted, back there. So
Gears home, the islands, so like there's whole areas where we haven't even touched.
the whole southern half of the map would be, and we're way at the north right now, so like we're as far
at the
away as
tip of
possible
top.
from.
Yeah, let me look at the wiki because I'm trying to remember. Tahiri is from, where's the map? Ironlands map. She is from, this map doesn't have the regions on it. She's from the southeastern. Is that the flooded lands?
Yes, that's the flooded
Yeah,
land.
she's from the flooded lands. So I've put a little bit of thought into the NPCs, some of the NPCs there, some of the circles there. I have some of the circles named and some of the character.
Yeah, we haven't been to the
And
Barrier
another tribe
Islands,
of the Kadi.
Ragged Coast,
Kadi
Deep
down there.
Wilds, Flooded Lands, the Havens.
I just realized I had put no conscious thought into it, but I know exactly what that whole state down the west coast looks like. I know its cultures and all of it, and I put no conscious thought into it at all, but I know exactly where Bill came from.
Nice.
That's weird.
Ooh, very good.
The only thought part about Caradwin's that I did was how the circles were laid out within a mountainous area.
Mhm.
I was trying to figure out how
That's okay.
large.
We came through and wrecked all.
We came through it and destroyed like half of it. It's fine. But
I even created a legend, in the far future that they would tell about the devastation
of these mythic people.
Yes.
Yeah, these mythic lands that everybody's heard of, but nobody quite believes actually existed.
Well, that's an interesting parallel too, because we've met our myths, right? We met the giants, we've met the Varu, who we at the very start of the game didn't know they were mythical, and by the end of this game we're going to be equally mythical with them. We will be those that came before, right? The young will go,
That's
old
true.
people stories, Pfah.
Uh-huh.
Right.
No, I saw them with my own eyes.
And again, we did this. This is completely improv. This is what happens when storytellers play, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about improv and comedy improvs do this too. You use archetypes. You use the universal archetypes because, you don't have the shortcut of an established world and established stories and stuff. But you do have archetypes that everybody recognizes. And so you just say it, everybody recognizes it, and you move on. So, I mean, improv uses that very heavily. And so that is another reason why it's pretty easy to get into our stories in our world, is because they are very archetypal. You will recognize people, even though, this is the strong warrior, and this one is the creepy mystic, and this one is the, they're archetypes. You're going to recognize them instantly. So that helps.
The characters
and there's nothing wrong using archetypes.
are the same too.
No.
They're there for a reason.
Yeah, they're archetypes because of...
I had somebody a couple of years ago that was new to my game, and at the end of the game, I said, "What did you think?" And they said, "Do you want my honest opinion?" And I said, "Please, yes." And they said, "Your style is a bit ham-fisted," and I said, "Thank you," because I don't want to be subtle, or I don't want to, I want you to
nuanced.
Be engaged in it. I don't want you to have to think. I just want you to watch and enjoy and feel and come along for the journey, right? I don't want you to have to deconstruct it. while we're playing. So I'll take ham-fisted and archetypal every time. That for me, that's a compliment. That means I told a simple story with simple elements and still made you pay attention.
And then there's this Ironsworn game where we take those archetypes and we twist them and we break them and we turn them around and we whip them out, and it's we abuse the archetypes, and it's so much fun.
And our character, and a key thing we touched on it earlier. These characters change. It's a thing that I see in far too many RPGs where a character, they'll play for 2 years and 100 episodes, and they're not significantly different people at the end than they were. They're far more powerful and they've saved the world, but they're not
the same
significantly different. They haven't learned anything. They haven't become better. They've just become more powerful. And this,
Whereas
we're never going to get more powerful. So we have to get better.
Yeah. And our characters, it's been 28 days for our characters.
Yes. Yep.
Their worldview has changed beyond understanding completely. And yet, as I commented earlier, thinking back to the first episode, the very first encounter really between Caradwyn and Gear. And it's still a meme essentially to our group.
What
Gear getting
fundamentally
shot in the ass. I mean,
what fundamentally makes our characters has not changed. They're not unrecognizable, but they have grown, and the things they've experienced has changed them or maybe prioritized different things.
Mm-hmm.
It might only have been 28 days,
28 days of trauma. If you go through 28 days of trauma, you're going to be different on the other side. Yeah.
They're wiser, they're tougher.
28 days of trauma.
Yeah. Better, I don't know, but they're definitely
sadder.
Tougher. They're definitely wiser. They're definitely, they're sadder.
Dirtier.
They're more beat up. But at the other time, I think they might be.
We're not cynical
they might
yet.
be just a little bit stronger. Just a little bit. And I mean, let's face it, this is a good story. They're going to be strong enough when it comes time, right?
We're more aware of our strengths. We were stronger than we knew, and we were stronger differently than we knew. Like Bill's a good example. Bill thought he had strengths in being a sneaky bastard.
Yep.
And now he's finding that was a weakness, and here's really where his strengths are.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, he's finding out he's a good person, which he didn't believe he was.
He'll still never admit
and
that.
worthwhile.
But
He'll never believe it.
He is.
But
He's a hero, and he doesn't know.
He's not just a good person. He's a worthwhile person.
Yeah.
Which is even more powerful.
He is, he is, as much as I say he has a 1-sentence backstory, he has another sentence that is very inspirational. It's from, I think it's a Piers Anthony, was that the author?
No, it wasn't. No, sorry.
No, sorry. It's,
I know Piers Anthony.
It wasn't him either.
Is an author, but I don't know
he is. But that's not the
one.
one I was actually thinking of. The one with the wizard called the comedy. Terry Pratchett wrote a book about a goblin, and his eternal question is, "Am I worthy?" And that's the question that Bill hasn't got the guts to ask himself, but it's the question
he's afraid of the answer.
Yeah,
although, I mean, that really gets into something deep about humans, which is we don't fear that we're unworthy. We fear that we are powerful beyond belief, beyond understanding, and yet we're still in this mess. And so it's like, what are we doing wrong if we fear that we are powerful beings? Yeah. That's what Dalai Lama, or I don't remember who that is.
Well, if you honestly believe you were powerless,
because I can't quote anything.
It's okay.
Yeah.
If you were truly powerless, you can't be responsible for anything because there's nothing you can change. So you don't fear being powerless. You fear having the power to change things and then screwing it up, right? That's the big fear, right? Am I worthy? That's what it comes down to for Bill. So
I'm always too young to have thought of that one yet.
Mm-hmm. she has bigger problems.
Yeah, Amala's Amala's still trying to catch up, right? This whole time, she's in her head at least. I think she's been like half a step behind. She feels like she just not quite she's not quite on the same page as everybody else. She's running just as fast as she can. She doesn't realize she's leading.
And yet she's leading
behind.
She is creating the new universe. She is altering the fundamental nature of reality, but she thinks she's scrambling.
While running along going, wait for me.
She gets there and she changes it. So of course she's never going to catch up with the changes she's causing, like ripples ahead of her. She's never going to catch up to that.
and I don't think she realizes the importance she has within the circle of the four of us. I think, at least for Caradwin,
she's the youngest. She's the least. She's the one who should be serving the rest of you like a good apprentice should. She,
and for Caradwin, like the having Amala and Gear missing, like in any sense of the word, for a long period of time,
you had missing limbs.
Yeah, it felt weird. It felt wrong because there was a whole aspect that Amala deals with that Caradwin doesn't, and and that even Bill kind of touches it, but not to the extent that Amala is entrenched in it. And so it was one of those things where like they weren't complete without the other two.
There was a really interesting vibe.
And yet Amala would be surprised, and Amala would be very surprised at that. It's like, and would think, oh, isn't that sweet? You noticed I was gone,
Like
there was a really interesting vibe during that part where the two were dead and there was only the two of us going on. There was an element that we'd given up, but we don't know what else to do, so you just keep going, right? But there was no hope left. There was no way. Four of us couldn't do this. There's no way. The two strong ones are gone, right? Is what we're both thinking, right? I mean, Bill thinks Caradwin, as long as he's with Caradwin, he's fine because she's the most dangerous thing that has ever strode this planet, right?
Yeah.
But at that moment, with the other two gone, he was like, just forward, right? Just, I don't know what else to do, so we just keep doing what we do. And you guys came back, and now there's a heart back in this party again, right? So
at least there will be next session.
And again, you couldn't write this. Well, I mean, you could, but
when he comes back to consciousness and realize we really are there.
Yes.
Well, and that's why Caradwin reacted so viscerally to Bill, putting his life in danger, or trying to, sacrifice himself. It's like one more person's gone, and it's just her again.
Yeah, it can't be just me. Yeah.
And
it can't be a circle with one person.
And 28 days ago, you were off on a solo quest.
Quest to find your brother, but
and now it's like
the world has
what
changed.
Can you do? Yeah.
Like she wouldn't have conceived of rituals that could do the things they do, or creatures that can be what they are. She was just thinking her brother got lost in some town or something, or maybe attacked by an animal. Like she wasn't believing.
Instead, he's a captive of a powerful sorcerer.
Yeah, and I think that's
and still interacting with her nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think like
is he a powerful sorcerer?
That might be the second favorite NPC I play. I think I've only ever played him. I played your brother, right?
I think so.
I sent a message to you through him.
You sent a message through him, and I think that counts.
Yeah, because you did the arrows.
Yes, that's what it was. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You did the unending arrows. Yeah.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, I like that character too and I like that one for one very specific moment. When I did it, Robin's face went. Ugh. It was.
It was soul crushing. It was like, the loss, the longing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live for those moments where I get to watch other people do those scenes where they forget. I keep telling all these new, those of you that know me know I focus on getting new people to play and run games. And there is a moment in every role player's session somewhere. And it happened with a brand new player just a couple of weeks ago, and that's why I'm grinning, where they either literally or figuratively say, pardon my language, fuck it. And they forget that anybody's watching, and they forget that anybody might judge them, and they just open their mouth and let it come out. And those moments, it is everything I can do to stay sitting up in my chair, because I know how powerful that feels when you do that. And to bring that to people is just, it's ecstatic. So every single time I watch somebody so into a scene that they have lost the rest of the world, it's just them inside their head painting this picture, I'm ecstatic. So
well, and a lot of the time too, I get so focused when I'm involved in a session in a scene, a particular scene is a character I'm playing and somebody else, and I get so focused on that, and then I have to go back and watch the VOD because I want to see what everybody else's faces look like.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like
Because I play this because of the expressions on Austin and Robin and Kevin's faces.
Yeah.
Coming back and seeing the impact it has on them and how expressive they are, and watching them react to me, it's like, oh yes, I got the I was trying to convey an emotion,
Success.
and I got it. I did it.
Yes. And Anna, one thing, I see your comment, let them speak through you. You are merely the vessel for them to talk through.
Mhm.
Yes,
They're
but.
people.
And I don't say but very often. I like to say yes and, but this one I'm going to say yes, but you made them. You did this. You made this character. So when they do something, even if it surprises you, that's you. Take credit for what you did. If that character did something amazing, you did something amazing. So it isn't.
And I frequently,
you aren't just a vessel. You're the creator.
It's somewhere in the back of my head, and I'll ask people, ask me questions, because I don't know the answer, and I want to know the answer. So ask me the question, and I'll hear what I tell you, and that will tell me because it's back here, and that's very much. But these are people, but these are expressions of ourselves. There's so many dimensions. You can tell when you try and draw a 3-dimensional object on a 2-dimensional page. We as creatures are 14, 20, who knows, infinite number of dimensions. And this character is like a 5-dimensional expression of that. It is an expression of us. And I learned so much about myself watching my characters do things.
And no matter,
sometimes I'm looking to see what's the expression on my face when I'm doing that, because I was too busy doing it at the time.
Yeah.
Well, and in some way, every character you play or write or create has some piece of you in it. They may be the worst,
I like the
villainous character ever, but somewhere in that character is something about you. That has something that's a piece of you, no matter how small it has something that's integral in how you relate to that character. Because if you can't relate to a character, I mean, it's found throughout literature everywhere and media. If you can't relate to a character on some level, even the villains, they can end up feeling flat or, kind of too big and too amalgamous.
You can't invite the audience in if they can't relate to it.
Exactly. That's why villains like Loki or I'm trying to think of other ones, but nothing.
See, I was thinking even heroes. Like
even heroes. Yeah.
You watch.
If they're too perfect.
You watch Iron Man. You identify with Hulk. Right. At least I feel like that's a character I could be much more interested in. I get that. Look, I hate losing control, right? So that I identify with that Hulk, David Banner character.
You can't identify with the
don't identify with the guy who had every advantage in the world and then gets to be Iron Man too. I mean, I just,
But on the other hand, you can identify with Batman in a different way, because while he is inherently a similar character with a similar kind of like growing up in some minus parents, but you can relate to him on a more emotional level, rather than he's not perfect and not that Iron Man is. But in the movies he tends to come off that way, and so I think in that way, having a piece of you in each of your characters is very meaningful, and it can be hard to kind of find it sometimes. Sometimes it's not so much so overt. Sometimes it's something a little bit deeper than that, but it makes them human.
And sometimes it's super overt, kind of like Karis was talking about earlier, where you build a character specifically to explore something. Some part of yourself, or just something that you want to explore, and so you build them specifically to do that. Yeah,
or go through adolescence, or whatever. And one of the things interesting about improv collaboration, Callista, one of our opponents, And the one that we absolutely have to deal with. Some of the other ones we may not resolve by the time we wrap this down. But Callista's clear. We got to deal with her.
She's got stuff we need. Yeah.
Three of us so far have played her.
Yeah.
She's got a piece. She has an internal consistency, but she does have a piece of each of the three of us. And the three of us, she's an interesting character because the three of us play her in different kinds of situations. So you get to see a different aspect of her. So even though there's an internal consistency, so she's in some ways more dimensional than some of the other characters because we see her batshit crazy side. We see her manipulative side. We see her angry because she's trying to do something and she's been foiled side. And that largely depends on whether she was played by, because Austin pulls off the batshit crazy. I've got the manipulative, and Kevin's got the foiled anger rage side.
And yes, we were talking about it earlier. I think it was before you got here, Anna. Those moments where you're surprised by what your character does. In fact, it was a question. I think it was Wookie earlier said, "What was the most surprising thing your character's done?" And yeah, that is absolutely a thing. When you give these characters, you give them free reign, and you let them go and be themselves. And you made them, and you're also watching them at the same time. There's this really interesting sort of meta. Yeah.
And when you think of a situation and you put them in the situation, we usually don't think through the consequences of that. So the consequences can still surprise us. Yep. And we find ourselves doing and saying things wholly unexpected in a very un-Hobbit-like fashion.
well, and kind of along that line, I had the question in my head a while back that was like, well, what if Caradwin tried a ritual? And I did that in one of episodes, I can't remember when, but it was with the bears when things were kind of hard, and like we were saying, Bill and Caradwin were kind of dealing with feeling like they were missing two important pieces, and so she tried, and it wasn't the same, and it wasn't truly a ritual because she didn't know what she was doing. And that's not saying that Caradwin will never cast a ritual or could never. It's less about the ability and more what it means to the story and kind of what it meant to the character.
And the trust and the collaboration too. It's also, what does it mean to the player? Because I remember also offering to you, do you want me to do this because I can do this easily? Or is it part of what you as Robin is also trying to work through, and therefore you do it yourself? Do you want me to help you through this process, or do you want to just try it on your own? And that's part of the trust and the collaboration and all that we have going too, is it's an honest choice. And you might make different choices on different days.
Yeah. And we're all kind of exploring the human psyche in a way. We're very playing into that part of the characters, which isn't something a lot of people get to do in role play situations. Oftentimes there's a quicker story going on that we don't have all those times where you can just sit and be mopey and sad. And we can.
Yeah, we're in a very nice niche where we have an amazing amount of freedom, but also we have a community that we bring along with us, because all of you are watching this, or especially those who are chatting with us, but I think even some of the people who've chosen to watch it, even though they don't chat with us always, we're all in this together. This is a shared experiment.
Very, very much so. Absolutely. And I can think of no better sentence to kind of close this conversation up a little bit. It is almost the top of the hour. We've got just enough time left because we're not gonna not do this part. I know we already talked about the wiki, but Robin, tell us again, hit us the wiki one more time, and then also tell us about where we can find your art and other stuff, please.
Yes, we have a wiki that's just for our Ironsworn game that I keep updated usually after I rewatch the episode before our next session, so it should be all up to date because I did that before. And that has everything like the descriptions of the episodes, links to the YouTube, characters, character pages, all of the locations we've been, the map, everything like that. So that's all kind of collected in one place there. And when I'm not doing nerdy librarian things like taking care of a wiki, I do draw. I do a lot of digital and traditional art that I post on my Twitter at Thunderscape7 and other social medias at the same name, Facebook, Tumblr, Discord sometimes, depending on when I remember where to place it. Sometimes I don't remember all the places, but that's where it's often at. And I'm also a content contributor at Start Adventure blog. I've posted a couple of poems there, actually. Surprisingly, I'm not usually a poem writer, but a couple of poems.
It gives you an
there.
outlet.
Yeah, and I have some more things in the works that were kind of put on hold from the holidays, but getting back into that as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And not to mention being the lore master and chief keeper of the discords and creator of logical channel selections, along with my other companion here. I am at best a creative person who streams. It is the people around me that make this work. And you guys,
Tyranny of the organized.
The tyranny of the
We will make you organized.
I welcome the tyranny of the organized because the tyranny of the disorganized is not working. So.
There's a reason Robin and I are both admins on Dirty 20 Gaming Discord.
Yes. Yeah, because I do other stuff. I'm not sure what, but I do other stuff.
Speaking of
me. Oh boy, this is going to be one heck of a year. I have committed to this in all its wondrous glory. For the rest of January, we will be streaming 4 nights a week: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that is Ironsworn on Thursdays, Fun Shot Fridays on Fridays, because that's when you would have Fun Shot Fridays. The Corsairs of the Cosmos, which is space pirate, space opera, blasters that go pew pew, and please come and break my game as an instruction to the players. That's on Saturday. And then Sunday, starting this upcoming week, is Timely Interventions, time-traveling detectives who get sent back in time to find out what really happened, and of course are given the opportunity to change history. Then, because that's apparently not enough, in February, I'm adding another show that's going to be on Tuesdays, and that's going to be everybody but me in the Discord, other players, other viewers, anybody that wants to run a game and is willing to stream it. I'm going to do that on Tuesday nights. So we'll find players from the Discord. We will find you. We will do session zeros with you. I will stream it all, so you don't have to worry about any of that part. You come and bring me an idea. PM me an idea about a one shot you want to run, and we will do it. And then I may also have a guest appearance thing that starts in February or March too, back with Dead Aussie Gamer. I have been called upon to reprise Paris Carlton, the grumpy explorer who is now trapped in an alternate dimension. So if you want to see me play a grumpy, miserable bugger, come and watch me do that. Because he's also just recently been crippled in an accident, so he's now in a chair, so I don't know how he's going to deal with that either. But that leaves us with Karis. I saw what you did there. You tried to sneak right past you, but it's not going to work.
No, I had my name all typed.
You did. Please, where can we find you?
Yeah, I need to update my thing. But so let's see here. I am a collaborator here in Ironsworn. I will be the dungeon master in the next Daddy Warbucks D&D communities, the Saturday night staff game. We are doing Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, and we are going to have fun. I stream Minecraft on Sundays, And that's the only one that happens on my channel. Because the Saturday one's on Daddy Warbucks' channel and the Thursday one's on this channel. I play in an even darker D&D game than this Ironsworn game. And I DM a sandbox D&D 5e game for some friends of mine. That's my home game. And I try and fit in. And of course, I've been so excited about adding new characters in, and with the new dungeon mastering stuff and all this. I've been so, it has seriously cut into my Minecraft time, you know. And it's just, and who's got time for real life? I mean, yeah. Anyways, that's me. That's what I'm doing. That's where you can find me. And I need to update my thing because I'm not doing, like I said, I'm not doing Adventure League at the moment. I'm going to be doing starting this Saturday.
Nice.
I mean, the cast game. I think that's everything. That's as busy as my schedule can get. I had some other things in there too, and I had to cut over the holidays. I was cutting back pretty drastically to make space for stuff. So
yeah, the
ooh,
holidays.
good
happen,
Minecraft
so.
content. Ooh, thank you, Wookie. See, there's an endorsement. Wookie likes my Minecraft content.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Wookie did stop in on one of my streams. Yeah. And
I-
when I get around to it, it's been like 2 months since I put an edited Minecraft video up on YouTube. But
Oops.
who's got time? I've got all this gaming and doing
Exactly.
editing takes time. Oh, and I'm a contributor on Scarred Adventure vlog as
Yes,
well.
you are.
And
Yep.
I'm one of the encouragers too. I kind of help Jacob. You know, it's like, okay, who's working on what? Come on. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, I hear you talking about that. Let's post it. Let's, you know. That sort of stuff. So I'm also a cheerleader and encourager and prod and that's nice, dear. Grandma at Scarred Adventure.
and proofreader and editor
An editor,
interviewer.
proofreader, and yeah. Well, I had to offer that because Jacob's done editing on my stuff to make great
Well-
benefit. It's kind of like I have to pay it back. So
That leads me to a logical way to tie this up, which is to talk about this community. Not just the Ironsworn community, but the Dirty 20 community, the Mercs of Mischief community. All of these communities are one big community of communities. And I have never in my life been involved with a more supportive group of people. There are hundreds of people in this extended group. And there is no nastiness. There's no judgment. There's nothing but support
no
and
rivalries.
help and caring and love. And I could not be happier or prouder to be part of it than you couldn't pay me to stop doing this. This is every second, every comment makes it worth it. And
having
I am-
hundreds at any time you're having, you know, anytime you need somebody to be there, you know, it's worldwide,
Right.
enough time zones, enough people, enough. There's always somebody.
lining up to help. And it's amazing.
It's gotten us through 2020.
It sure is.
And
Oh,
into
happy New
the-
Year! We're in 2021 now.
2021. And speaking
There's
of
still
that,
time to return your trial period.
Speaking of 2020 and getting through it,
Ugh.
I got a ton of messages from people. I know a lot of them were in the public Discord. Some of them were in the private messages as well. But thank you for getting us through 2020 every bit as much as you thanked us for helping you get it through it. It's a circle, and let's do it again in 2021. Thank you, everybody.
It was cool. We have a whole,
This is
we have
so
another
cool.
year to do. Woo! I'm so
A whole
excited.
nother
Can't wait.
year. And with that, more than ever, please, until next time, be nice to each
Thank
other.
yous. Thank yous. Thank yous.
Oh,
Five thank
shit.
yous.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the thank you. Thank you for the thank you. The thank yous. You're right. I can't. Oh man, I almost forgot the most important part.
How can you?
4
I
thank
don't-
yous. It's because
Wait.
Austin's not here to put me off.
Oh,
blame it
that's
on that.
right. Four.
There's 4 this week. Thank you, Robin, lore master, librarian, memory of this group. Thank you so much. Thank you, Karis, grandmother, Queen Spider, and Darkness incarnate. Thank you so much. Everybody on Twitch, all the people that asked questions tonight, and all the people that didn't. Thank all of you too. and all the people that are going to watch this on YouTube, because I was thinking about not posting this, but I'm going to because this was really cool. I wouldn't keep anybody from watching this that wants to. So on YouTube, all of you people, thank you as well. And now, until next time, and
Yeah.
even more than ever, be nice to each other. Good night.